This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to an emergency podcast, in spite of the fact that that emergency broadcast did not play. We got a lot of moving parts here, guys. We've been at this for a long time. Everybody here, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe. We have subscriber chat only on, so if you want to be a part of the conversation, you're going to have to hit that sub button and hop right in that chat. We'll be paying attention the entire time. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to sponsor of today's show, which is Faded Spade. They have a new card out, 3.0. This is going to be, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Faded Spade. Their brand new world-class 3.0 playing cards are now available, and all viewers can use OnlyFriends for 15% off their order at fadedspade.com while supplies last this month. Thank you guys so much over there. We appreciate it. Let's get into the shits. Yeah. So, some things went down last night on Hustler Live.
I don't know what the fuck happened last night.
Why are we always talking about Hustler Live, man? These guys, they are doing it. They're doing it. I'm joined today by my council of, I don't know what we are at this point. We're sleuths. We're lawyers.
We're the Island of Misfit Toys.
We are the Island of Misfit Toys. Young Landon Tice holding it down. I'm glad to see you made it back, young man. We had him on scene yesterday in the middle of the action so he could get all the details from Hustler Live Casino for us.
No, did you?
We did.
No. Did I?
Robbi, you got that for us?
One more time.
Yeah, the on-scene reporting from Landon.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you came back with such good stories. I mean, I thought that you were there ready to capture it all for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to really go out there, do the Lord's work, you know. Go out there, report for the people, do the thing.
Well, that joke's dead. We're also joined by Christian.
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite.
Okay, so there he is.
Sorry, guys. This is, we're putting it all together.
He also couldn't believe what was going on. Same face. Chin actually decided to join us from whatever dungeon it is he's digging out of today. It's incredible that you're able to use that same background over and over again. Nobody notices, man.
Somebody called us the Council of Bluffs. I like that.
I like that. Except that means like a mountain range of some sort, or bluffs.
Council of Bluffs?
Yeah, bluffs are like rolling hills.
What the? No, shut up. Bluffs are bluffs. Like,
I understand
we know what a bluff is.
It's dual
Council
meaning.
of Bluffs. This isn't some thesaurus fucking bluff. Okay?
Look, bro, I'm out here to educate. I'm out here to humanitize. You know, we're trying to keep it
Council
rolling.
of Bluffs. We understand what that means.
Finally,
7 of clubs is a bluff.
our hood lawyer, Conrad, he is here doing all the investigative journalism necessary. He's impartial, obviously.
Yeah. I mean,
no opinions.
I don't know what the fuck is going on.
He didn't spend all of pre-production telling us that we're stringing people up by their toes today. All right, let's get into the shits. I have 90 minutes before I have a flight to catch, so we are going to blow through this. Yesterday was wild, man. One of the craziest hands I've seen go down in my entire poker career. And I have to tell you, I really, truly, at this point in time, after having done all this digging, don't know what to make of it. To give you guys a little bit of a setup of what happened, a new player, Robbi Lou, is on the scene. She's played Hustler 3 times now, or maybe only 2. This is the 3rd time. She played Max Payne Monday, and now the big game twice. She's in the mix. I don't know her at all otherwise. It seems like based off of her Hendon mob, she has about 100K in lifetime earnings, with 20K being her biggest score. It looks like, you know, she found an opportunity to jump into the highest stakes. Her background is, I believe she said yesterday on Ingram's podcast, she was in pharmacology in some sort of way, and biotech, perhaps. I know that she had mentioned being business partners later on in the show with Rip, who they're trying to make some marijuana toothpaste. I believe that she said.
It's a cannabis toothpaste.
Yeah. She is married to a former actor who is on an episode of Punk'd in 2003, Charles Liu. I wasn't able to find too much on either of them. He was a chess expert with the international title by age 12. That was about all I could find. The only reason that's relevant is because, there's another whole nother scandal going on over in that realm.
Never ends.
Never ends. Man, imagine if just like widespread cheating through anal beads is what's happening right now.
Vato is just everywhere.
Yeah.
Rampant Vato.
It all started with Possel, and they've just gotten more sophisticated.
Yep.
So the hand in question is at timestamp 2 hours and 5 minutes. I'm just going to set the hand up real quickly right now. Guapo, let my mic on for the first minute or so. We're going to go ahead and watch that hand. But for anybody who's been living under a rock, effectively, what happened was a hand came to be where I believe it was blind versus blind. Garrett raised, Robbi defended, Jack 4 off. Already a little bit loose, but, hey, we're in the mix. She's a fun player. Let's get after it. Flop is 10-10-9, 2 clubs. Bet, call. She has Jack 4 with the Jack clubs. Okay, little loose, but 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. This isn't suspect at all, to be honest, just yet. Turn is an offsuit 3, bringing 2 hearts now. So it's the 3 of hearts, 10 of hearts, 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs. And we find ourselves in a situation where Garrett's now like betting large.
We find ourselves in this situation.
Yeah, the rest of the hand, I'm just going to go ahead and let it speak for itself, assuming we can get this rolling.
The first one,
there
that
we
was
go.
like before he won all those tournaments. And, yeah.
Go ahead and skip ahead like 30 seconds.
No, far off. It's
There we go.
wow, and Robbi's going to call here with Jack 4 with the Jack of clubs. Turn is a 3, puts backdoor hearts down. And this is usually when Garrett will lay the hammer down with combo draws. She's got 1 club and 1 heart. And wow, look at this. What is she thinking about here? Is she gonna raise it? Well, we saw her raise ace king a little bit ago for a min raise. Here she's gonna min click. I think he's considering bet 3 betting, and yep, there's the all in. There's the all in. Garrett, like I said, he's just so experienced in bet patterns, bet sizing. He's gonna put a time chip out.
This is why you shouldn't be in hands like this.
She doesn't have a 3. She calls?
You call me with a jack high? You call me with a jack high?
I prefer once, but it's up to you. Yikes.
Oh my God.
Let's see the hand. So far, so good. It looks like you're ahead.
What is going on
I prefer
here?
once, but it's up to you.
Is it possible that her hand might be misread in the card graphics or something?
Because I have a shitty hand.
You do? Yikes.
No, I just thought this is a pure bluff catcher I'm dealing with right now.
With Jack high?
Purely. But yeah, I think you have to be.
We'll go to the river. The river is a 9.
That one's you for sure.
They're gonna run it
Unless you have, like,
twice.
pocket 5
And
or something.
so.
she's
You have,
gonna.
like, small pair?
You give me that much credit?
I don't know.
Haven't you seen what I've
She's
done?
good with the first one.
Let's turn him over. You're already not that.
Oh. No.
If the cards are correct.
It's already there.
What a sick call.
What a sick call.
And the river bricks out again.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow.
I want to see. Does she have Jack 4?
She had 4 Jack high.
What?
Whoa!
Look at Whoa, look at Garrett's face. That's
some fucking poker right there.
That was sick.
Wow. That's strong.
That was sick.
Oh, shit.
That is super, super strange. You can see his reaction. Like, what is... What?
Ma'am?
What?
Very nice to be you fucking scooped it.
Jacob, you look like you want to kill me. I mean, not Jacob. I mean, like, you look like you want to kill me, Jared.
He wants to vomit.
I was not in the hand. I want to vomit.
Wow.
This is...
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I mean, usually Garrett would be fairly congratulatory if somebody made a hero call like that, but
He has a blocker to the straight
he seems somewhat disturbed here by what just happened. I don't...
Call of the year right there.
It's testing.
It's literally like the sort of most disturbed look that I've ever seen Garrett give.
we can pause the feeling.
No, let me tell you what happened. 10,000, min range 20, shove, call.
And obviously the reason why he would be that is how can she call?
I remember.
Like maybe he thinks that she saw his hand somehow, or so, I don't know.
Nothing. I think nothing happened.
The flop goes bet call. The turn goes bet raise shove call.
Like what? What do you mean? Like wait?
128.
bet, 20,000 mini raise.
No, before the flop.
Before the flop. Before the flop.
128.3.
I think it was a...
This is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
$2,500.
I never seen
I don't understand sort of what's happening right now.
Andy.
This is a new cut, right?
If my jack was in a club, I would have been out.
What do you mean if your jack was in a club?
She had a blocker.
You know you've let me do this to you several times now.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened.
I'm just testing it.
Yeah.
And
This
you just
doesn't
keep
seem super
letting me
funny
do
to
this.
me,
And
honestly,
no,
at all,
like
but
when
how
you
much money
bet,
is
when
that?
you bet that like high big
Yeah.
stack, why did
I
you go
don't-
on
I don't
it
need to
twice?
say
I thought you were on ace high. Ace high.
And then so why call with jack eye then?
First of all, a little bit of a straight draw. I have blockers on there.
No, on the turn though. So you called all in on the turn because.
Yeah, because you don't have shit.
That's right. She
You don't
thinks you
have
can't beat a
shit.
jack high.
It's not about what I have. It's about what I don't think you have when you play against me. That's
You
it.
didn't think you had jack queen of clubs.
75. You let me do this to you post stream too. Last time we played.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep letting me. Okay, 50, 75.
Okay. So, a lot to unpack there.
A lot.
Let's start around the table. Christian first and foremost.
1 second on Chin.
Okay, we're gonna cut to the young Landon first then.
Yeah. So I ran a sim last night, of course. Jack 4.
Yeah, saw that.
Indifferent in there.
Right. It's a mix.
Hashtag slave to the sim. Thanks for the shout out on the podcast, Daniel. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Like, I can't confidently say one way or another. All I know is that was wild. That was just a very interesting.
What? I'm not asking you to define if it's cheating or not.
Yeah,
just more so
sure.
like, what's your visceral reaction to seeing, like, as a professional, if you're in Garrett's shoes and you see that hand go down, like, what is your immediate response?
I think my immediate response in the moment would just be a lot of shock, like silence, and almost just like, all right, okay.
Sure.
And that's kind of it. Like, what else can you do? What can you do? Like, I definitely wouldn't like get up or make a scene. You know, I'm not a scene maker by any means necessary, but I would be speechless, really.
Chin, what you got for us?
Fuck.
So as a reaction for Garrett?
Just in general, like watching that clip, kind of walk me through your thoughts.
Yeah, I think after he gets called, right, and sees the hand, like, it's pretty obvious that he feels like immediately like he got cheated. Not only that, like, Garrett plays LA games private for a long time, and I'm sure that there's been occasions like this in his career. So this is like something that he immediately felt like, oh, I've seen this before. He's like super uncomfortable and doesn't want to say it, on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And So yeah, in Garrett's perspective, he immediately thought he got cheated. Me looking at it, I initially felt like, yeah, this is like pretty obvious, but we'll get into our thoughts later, I guess.
Conrad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the fuck to say right now. I have no idea what the fuck I watched last night, and like, I think I spent more time watching like the reactions and stuff of like body language and like just what's going on than anything, and I still don't know what the fuck is going on.
Like, in a genuine sense, what can you do? How would you react?
Well, I don't want to get into that just yet.
I think Garrett actually acted like a professional, a very true professional, and like he was about to lose his shit.
Yeah.
Like there was like, you could tell like he's just like about to snap, and he's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
I mean, Garrett tries to pace himself, right? Like Garrett, like you see him at the end, like very uncomfortable, like going with his hand like this, like really trying not to like just like flip the table.
Yeah.
Like he's very like he's uncomfortable trying to like get himself together.
Yeah.
Yeah. My there's a lot here. There's a lot going on here. My takeaway from when I watched that in real time. Now, to be fair, shout out to everybody in our Discord channel. They gave me like a 2-hour heads up on this. So information was like privately leaking, and I was just watching in anticipation, couldn't wait. As the hand actually finally did play out, what I noticed was, at least in my opinion as an observer, this hand does not pass the sniff test from a professional standpoint, but I thought both parties acted incredibly authentically. So this is what I'm kind of struggling to parse, is that Robbi, in my opinion, acted fully along the lines of what I've personally seen, having coached a lot of amateurs, having coached specifically a lot of amateur women who are playing in male-dominated games and oftentimes higher stakes. There's this air of like, I feel bullied and I'm going to stand up for myself. This attitude that kind of like there have been a lot of students that have come through the academy where I have to spend time with them separately on the side saying like, listen, I understand what you're saying. You feel that you're being played differently because you're a woman. You feel you're viewed differently, et cetera, et cetera. But this mindset you're taking creates an emotional response, not a rational one, right? And the ultimate outcome then is you do irrational things. And we've seen it consistently in our gameplay where someone just loses their mind over some emotional, irrational action that, kind of leaves them no way out. And there's no way to explain it away. So when he starts grilling her afterwards and the word salad just comes off, I don't necessarily think that that's some sort of indication of guilt. I'm not saying it makes her innocent, but it's just like, have you ever done something stupid and got caught?
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of what it felt like to me watching in real time, right? Yeah. Like she was utterly embarrassed and masked it with arrogance. Masked it. M-A-S-K-E-D.
Man,
masked it.
Man. Yeah, it's tough when in the moment, I'm sure, getting that kind of treatment where it's like, so you thought I had ace high, but you called with jack high. And then it's like,
the needles were, she was like, that's why I'm saying she kind of covered it with arrogance, because her defense now, whenever he's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I feel like I was just cheated. Her defense is to jump to a bunch of like irrational buzzwords. I had a blocker. It's not about what you have, or it's not about what I have. It's about what you have. I played the man, not the cards. It's like, none of this matters when everybody's all in. Right. It's only about the cards when everybody is all in, right? Oh. So, here's the thing, and I want to start to frame this argument early because we're not gonna jump to any conclusions, but we want to frame out both sides as we get through this, right? One of two things has to be true here. So we as a community, Garrett, Robbi, everybody involved has to accept one of two things. Either she's cheating, or she is so amateurish that she's not quite I'm using my words carefully, but
absolutely.
like she isn't qualified to be in a game this large, basically. From a strategy standpoint, from a knowledge of the game standpoint, like basically we're saying like either she's cheating or she's at a fundamental level of poker where it's so amateur that the what beats what hasn't really necessarily clicked. And I don't mean that in a reductive way.
No.
I don't mean that she doesn't know that ace high beats king high or ace high beats jack high, but more so that when she's thinking about her decision-making process, it's still binary to value or bluff. Mm-hmm. And when she arrives at bluff, she forgets about the fact that her hand is losing to bluffs.
Yeah. Some of them, at least, for sure.
He could just have queen jack of hearts.
Yeah.
Right? Turn backdoor straight flush draw, like let's fucking grip it and rip it type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And if that happens, and that's the other thing I kind of want to set up before we get into the events that unfold thereafter. What are we doing right now as a community if he just scoops? Just wins both boards.
I mean, I'm sure this would come out, but just a little bit slower. I would think that people would definitely be like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm not sure if somebody would frame it as cheating.
Right.
Like, it would just take one.
It's just if he wins both boards, it's just another day in Garrett's world. Like, it's that simple. Like, who runs better than the G man, right? It's just like, oh, yep, had a bunch of equity, got there twice. You know, it's just another Wednesday.
I think that that's a really important thing to shine a light on, though. Not because I'm saying that we're overreacting to the spot. I think that we are reacting to something that is clearly foreign in an environment that could possibly be cheated. But I think it's very critical to understand that had he scooped, we would give her a lot more benefit of the doubt of just being an amateur.
That's true.
Right? So what I want to bring this back to is some middle ground where we aren't, as the angry mob, coming out with pitchforks saying, I'm 100% confident he is in the wrong, or I'm 100% confident that she cheated. If you have a high degree of confidence either way right now, I think that you are probably not going to be an objective observer that could actually be helpful in coming to conclusions. Because this isn't the Postle scenario, right? This isn't Veronica sending us 12 examples of where somebody had potentially cheated, a bunch of experts looking at those examples and saying like, okay, well, with no greater context, this doesn't look all that sus to me.
Right.
Yeah, no, this is 20,000 people watching.
Right.
And like
one solo hand where a professional that we all hold in very high regard said, this is fucked and I'm not happy about it. Right.
Yeah.
So of course, like, we're divided. This is, and I want to get control of this narrative because it's a very important thing and it can serve as a huge distraction, right? Two things are occurring here. One is there's a big chunk of the community that's deferring to Garrett, who is the consummate pro and handles himself in the utmost professional manner, right? He's not one to jump to conclusions publicly. He's not one to go over the top in situations that feel a little bit close.
He's not even one to get upset about losing hands.
Correct. So like, we are all taking note of his reaction, right? And his statements and everything else, and we're saying like, okay, this is cause for alarm. And then there's this other narrative that's forming where it's a new player in a high-stakes environment. It's a female in a male-dominated environment. It's a scenario where, yes, it doesn't pass the sniff test, but is it that far removed from an amateur's thought process, right? And since we can't conclusively arrive at any of those conclusions, what we're overlooking now is that there is a bit of a power dynamic here, right? Mm-hmm. Not even just because it's male-female. That exists also. But if she was just any amateur and Garrett authoritatively accused that person of cheating, there's still a massive power influx here, right? Like, Garrett just holds a lot of weight in these situations because he's earned it. Yeah. And we have to pay attention to that. We have to take note of it. But we can't dismiss Robbi's experience also.
Yeah, no, I think this is absolutely unfair to Robbi if like this is not cheating.
That's the biggest thing I want to hit on.
This is fucked.
That's the biggest thing I want to hit on. We cannot say with certainty that she is cheating.
Yeah.
And that means that there are iterations to this outcome where she's innocent and is being like basically being a part of a witch hunt, right? Yeah. So I want to be very mindful of both parties because if I were in Garrett's shoes, even if just like worst case scenario was I wasn't trying to put this woman on trial, but I just feel wronged.
Yep.
You're going to see emotion out of me. You're going to see reaction. So it's like, I don't think anything that he did, at least at first glance, is out of line.
Nope.
I don't think anything that she's done, at least at first blush, is out of line.
Mm-hmm.
We are just kind of here as the public to let this play out in front of everybody and start to find as much evidence as we possibly can, I think.
Yeah, this is like the first time in 20 years that Garrett's made a statement like this in any regard.
Yeah.
So it holds so much weight.
Yeah.
No?
I think so.
I also want to touch on like the rip thing. Like,
Yeah,
on how he acted afterwards, and like I don't think that's actually like damning or anything. Like if this is his friend, and well, I mean,
so I'll set that up because there's a lot more to unpack there than just them being friends. So the events as they unfold thereafter. Actually, sorry, Chin, did you have anything to close on before we move on to the?
Yeah. So yesterday I was watching the Joey stream, and then someone in the comments, and then Joey repeated this on air, was like, oh yeah, like she played a wild hand against Christian Soto, and then she like berated him after. And I was like, oh shit, that's true, that happened. I remember like me trying to bluff her during the series, and she made like a wild call, and then like I had no more chips, and then like I was just like, okay, good game. And then she like went off and said like, you know, if you would have called, you would still have 5,000 in chips. And I'm just like, what? Like, she just said that to me? Like, because I had like a pure bluff. There was no way I could call, but then I tried to like re-bluff her. That was a bad idea. And then she like berated me pretty hard. And I just like, tapped the table twice, and just, smiled and left. But like everyone at the table was like, holy shit, that was really cold for you to say. So now I started to think like, oh, wow, like she does make like pretty insane calls, and then like berates the person, which is similar to what happened to Garrett, except mine was a 1,500 and Garrett was 150,000. So
yeah, it seems pretty tough when it comes to the anecdotes, right, Matt?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts in the sense of like some people playing with her over the summer, having different experiences when it comes to playing MTTs or playing high stakes cash?
We need more explicit data, I think, right? Like we can't just go off of her words and her mannerisms. That's way too circumstantial, and it's not that we can't use circumstantial evidence, but it needs to be tied to something concrete, right? And the only concrete thing we have here is this one isolated hand.
I'm going to disagree massive because understanding a player profile here is important. Like if a lot of people are telling you that she plays this certain style of poker, and this certain style of poker now repeats itself, and it's a wild style, and she happens to win, that has to have some sort of credence into the argument. Multiple people says this is how she plays, then you have to kind of like that holds some weight.
Yeah, but credence which way? Because I can't make it the conclusion one way or the other. Like I hear that, and to me that like leans me more towards innocence, not guilt. But then additionally, like if you're coupling that with the fact that like maybe she never loses, you see what I'm saying? Like
I understand. I'm just
they're
saying,
data points to bring in, but they need to be tied to more concrete things like hands like this, right? So the more examples that you can show me of hands like this, the more that her mannerisms actually have context.
Yeah,
I'm confused by your argument. If multiple,
it's
people
not an
are
argument.
saying,
I'm not making an argument. I'm simply saying that her mannerisms in isolation don't really mean anything to us. It's just noise, right? The signal is the actual hand itself. Okay. So the actual empirical data we have is the hand that was played. It's suspect, clearly, right?
Correct. It's suspect. But look, I'm not defending her or not. I'm just saying that when other pros are telling us, like, yeah, this is how she plays, and I have hand histories with her, that's part of the data that we have to take into account. That's not like just nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right? I'm telling you, like, yeah, she played a hand even against me that was like really wild.
Right, I agree, but I'm saying that information doesn't lead me to a conclusion one way or another.
No, of course not. It's just something that it's like it would be different, right? If you're playing in a game that's rigged and someone's playing super tight and always makes like really tight folds correctly, whatever, and now they just like randomly blow up.
Right.
And just like win with Jack High, that would be like way more suspect than having a player that just
agreed. I totally agree with that. But even still, I think I would be able to explain it away in the sense that it is against Garrett. And I do think that there's a certain intimidation factor he brings where he makes people uncomfortable to a degree of irrationality. And we've seen enough of this, right? Like it just happens in a more standard way where like somebody just goes ape shit with ace high versus him and he has sets, right? Like we just forgive that because that's commonplace poker and like maybe they're the aggressor and he's just trapping or whatever. It's silly whenever somebody with jack high is taking passive action to win a pot versus him, right? That's why I kind of framed it out as like if he scoops or if he has queen jack or something along those lines, we never are accusatory here. I want those other alternative universes to exist in this conversation because I don't want to get too bogged down by a bunch of details that are a little bit more noise than signal.
Yeah. I completely agree. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. Have you guys ever called somebody with jack high?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever called somebody for jack high for $125,000?
A lot less likely.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I actually called somebody with exactly jack 4 high with 12 people left in a 5K in Florida where it was like 800,000 up top.
How long did you belabor it and how much did you squirm and like how?
I was literally like 7 minutes in the tank.
Okay. There's reactions that you take that's I've seen playing live from everybody that's ever called with jack high. Mm-hmm. And it is fucking belaboring. They're making they're showing their hand.
Yes. But my immediate pushback to that is almost everybody that you've ever seen call with jack high is a professional. So they're actually weighing a lot of mitigating factors that could lead them to a jack high call.
Right.
Robbie hates Garrett's face. This is a face, okay? Let's be abundantly clear. Like this is pure face equity.
Sure, yeah.
I hear what you're saying though. We can take note of it.
It's true, man. Like when it comes to the alternate universe perspective of let's say Garrett just has the queen jack of hearts and scoops, right? This doesn't happen.
Right.
This doesn't happen.
Right.
It's just like, oh, like someone went crazy and made a not a great call with jack high, got scooped, and Garrett just kind of ran good again.
Well, there would just be no way to accuse her of cheating because she would have got it in dead.
Yeah.
So that, as far as the alternate universe thing, that is actually relevant here. That's a very important detail is that she did not get it in dead when she could have, right? So that does sway things back a little bit.
It's not very hard to get it in dead with jack high in that spot.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like he just goes, oh, I have trips actually this time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move now into the events as they unfold thereafter. So, we kind of saw Garrett's reaction was he was completely dumbfounded. And it was abundantly clear that he was trying to make heads or tails of what he just saw, and not in a trivial way, not in a jovial way either. It was very serious, very deadpan. Robbi felt like she was being interrogated by his just look alone.
Of course.
And you could see her getting like visibly uncomfortable, which is understandable, right? Like when you are put into a high pressure situation like that with a 300K pot being played, and God, this is an aside, but I hate that they use all these fucking small chips. She had like 50,000 in $100 chips. Yeah, when are you ever gonna like put out 5 racks of hundreds? Get some goddamn big chips on the table.
It was kind of great for our sake, though.
Oh yeah, because it belabored it for so long. But as he's staring at her like quizzically, trying to understand what the fuck is going on here, I think the social aspect of that is it kind of had that feeling of like, oh no, daddy just hit mommy, what do we do? And the whole room goes silent, like you could hear a pin drop type of thing. Yeah. And I think she felt an urge to break that silence, so she went somewhere from like being shocked herself that she scooped to aggressively dunking on Garrett.
Yeah, she just started popping shit.
Yeah, like, you let me do this to you off stream too, which is a weird remark. Very strange. Like, I don't know if internally she felt like she was being accused of cheating just by the look alone.
Yeah.
But she did feel like she had to jump to her own defense, and that I can understand.
Garrett did immediately respond. I don't remember ever playing a hand with you off stream.
Right.
So that's just something to note.
So yeah, that is something to note. She just basically kept framing it as he's been coming after her.
Yeah.
and this was her taking a stand. She obviously wasn't able to coherently put actual, logic together. It was just a lot of buzzwords. Like, I had a blocker, not understanding the Jack of Clubs is not really a great blocker. She kept saying, I just knew you had shit, but not really recognizing that she also had shit. It is what it is. She said at one point, like, I put you on ace high, and he said, then why did you call with jack high? And it became this back and forth, right? It now becomes an interrogation or kind of a he said, she said in real time. Go ahead.
There's so many mixed conflicting stories. There's just so, like, the way, like, she spoke about it, like, even after, like, if you go 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, after she's spoken to Garrett and does her interview, she said that she thought she had a 3. We watched and saw that she looked at her cards for a very long time. Like,
yeah, I don't want to run the clip back. Everybody's seen it a million times, but there are multiple instances on the turn. She does like this weird face scratch thing and makes a comment about it. Like, she peeks at her cards around that point. She also looks at her cards before going all in. I know people are saying, like, haven't you ever fake looked at your cards before? Like, these are all professional things. Amateurs, if they're peeling, they're literally peeling. And it's very, very, very unlikely, in my opinion. Like, I think rather than stating things that we know for sure, I think instead we could start to look at things that we can dismiss, right? And I do think it's pretty practical to dismiss that she actually did not know her hand. Even though that's maybe one of the better explanations for how this hand played out. There's just a lot of video evidence indicating she probably did know her hand.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It is one of those spots where you can't say anything with certainty as to did not do something malicious, but you can definitely take the accounts that happened at face value.
Yeah.
Right? You could see what happened when it had the whole conversation and things that don't make sense. And just be like, okay, this seems out of the ordinary. What's going on? Like, you can't make a full conclusion or a claim. You don't have proof or anything of that nature.
Right.
But it's sus. And you could start with that. Be like, okay, this is sus. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I think that point is important because I think there's a lot of people. Even Eric Person kind of said it on stream and stuff like that. I think there are a lot of people that are trying to celebrate the call and say, like, that was a soul read. It's like, whoa. Like, if it were a soul read, your immediate response is not, I put you on ace high. Your immediate, like, we can agree that this may have been an emotional reaction to feeling picked on by Garrett. And she just said, fuck you, I'm putting it in. And happened to be right this time. I can get behind that. I cannot get behind this. I put him on 8 high. I put him on 7 high and confidently made a jack high call. Yeah. So, like, again, trying to separate the signal from the noise. I think we need to drown out a lot of the narratives that are taking place on the outside looking in, where A, Robbi soul read him, or B, Garrett, scummed an amateur to get money back in a situation where, It's not that none of these things could be true. It's just that they are drummed up narratives by us as the audience watching, trying to make sense of something that makes absolutely no fucking sense to any of us, right?
Yeah. Can't be certain. Yeah, no, you just can't be certain.
Right.
And people always like to take one side or another and then pit each other against themselves, where it's like, there's clearly a gradient here and there's no proof yet. So let's just relax and assess.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, after the kind of stare down and everything else, Garrett steps away from the table for a bit. The table's obviously buzzing about the hand. There's some conversation. She continues to kind of like back her side of just like, I knew he had shit type of stuff. Andy in the whole time like goes from like shock to joy to shock again. Honestly, as an onlooker, this is a really tough spot. This is a tough spot for Garrett. It's a tough spot for onlookers. There's just nothing. There's nothing concrete at this moment, right? Yeah. Big shout out to everybody giving super chats and all the members out there. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us.
I do want to chat about Andy for a second because I was watching the whole thing. Yep. And he won when the second, let's not count Ivy because he's always in and out or whatever.
Yep.
But when the second known pro, most respected pro in the game is continuing to play and also saying that there is no way that she cheated, that holds a lot of weight for both production as well as the other players in the game that are discussing the situation. If Andy feels any sort of like this has to stop, the game probably stops if Andy's like, yo, I'm not playing this game anymore. And now Garrett leaves, Andy leaves. The amateurs, not amateurs, but whatever, the other players are not just going to keep playing with her. Like, they're going to follow the lead of the other pros.
We've played cheated games, man. You can still have a win rate. I mean, the rest of that lineup was. But the rest of that lineup, man. If like she was literally the only one cheating, would you still sit?
Stop, bro.
Tell me you wouldn't sit. Tell me you wouldn't sit. If you had if you had 60% confidence that she was cheating, would you sit that lineup?
I just fold every hand she's in.
Yeah,
just keep the game going.
Yeah, there's no way I mean, ethically, I wouldn't sit. Like if I had that high of a degree of confidence, I would warn everybody, right? But like monetarily speaking, of course you're gonna keep that fucking game going if you're Andy. Garrett's gone. Ivy's betting baseball. Ivy's betting baseball. Like, we think this girl's cheating. We know how to handle that. There's still 5 good spots in this game. I'm just saying. Being real.
I think if Andy truly thought that she was cheating, he would have not. He wouldn't play. I honestly think
okay, fair.
Just obviously, I don't know Andy well, but
Bro,
based on like if
I think if he's making 3 big blinds an hour, in spite of the cheating, like he's ready to fucking shuffle up and deal. But that's just my read. Like I'm with you, Andy. It's tough to get in these streets these days.
3 seems a little bit low,
bro. They're playing fucking. That's $1,200 an hour, man.
I know. I'm saying 3 seems a little bit low.
Well, somebody's cheating, maybe, perhaps. It takes a little bit off your win rate. You have to suffer too, man. All right, so he steps away shortly thereafter. So does Robbi, and. We don't really see or hear anything until Rip begins to cause a massive commotion. Yeah. And he is just on the sideline shouting like, you're a fucking pussy. Like, he's ready to go to blows. Yeah. Okay. So we don't know anything as the observers at this point, other than a hand happened and these two disappeared. But according to Rip then coming back to the table and talking to everybody, as well as Robbi going on Ingram's podcast last night and speaking about it, what alleged to have had happened was there was a conversation between Ryan, Garrett, and Robbi where they were trying to make Garrett comfortable enough to continue playing the stream in some capacity, right? I spoke with Garrett very briefly via text and just basically said like, this is wild, man. I don't even know how you can handle this type of thing. And he said, yeah, I'm going to release a statement later this evening. But one thing that isn't public yet is that in front of Ryan, she voluntarily offered me my money back. I never asked for it, right? So that was his statement, and he reiterated that, I believe, in the statement that he put out. Robbi said something very different. Well, not very different, but like slightly different. She said that they were having a conversation, and it felt very accusatory. And it led to her basically saying, like, how can I make this right? What can I do to want you or to make you want to go back and play the game? And, she basically said that Garrett then asked for his money back, or basically said something to the effect of like, well, you can give me $135,000 back, right? Yeah. And according to her, good.
Sorry to cut you off. 2 people could be saying like, it's all up to interpretation, because she could say like, what can I do to make this right? Garrett responds with, I don't know, it's a lot of money. And she perceives that as like, I don't know, it's a lot of money from Garrett saying
let me finish.
I want my money back.
Yes, you're correct, but let me finish. So I spoke with Vertucci and Ryan on the phone last night, and Ryan confirmed Robbi's story. He said that Garrett kind of sheepishly said, you can give me your money or give me my money back. Something to that effect. So again, I agree with you. It's all about interpretation. Garrett very genuinely could believe that he never said that, or like he didn't mean it when he said it, or whatever the case may be. Like, it's a commotion. But just based off of the 3 people that were involved, 2 of them are kind of suggesting that She offered to make things right in some capacity, and he suggested the only way to make this right is to make me whole.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, what ended up happening was she agreed to it. According to her, she agreed to it as long as he would continue to play in the game and not shut her out of future games moving forward. He said, okay. She went back to get chips, came back. It was $5K short. He demanded that she goes back to get the other $5K. She does. At this point, Rip notices what's going on, finds out that she's giving him his money back, and causes a massive commotion, right? He's over it. He can't take it anymore. What we came to find out later, Mike, I believe at the table, said that, they're good friends and business partners. And Robbi confirmed that on Ingram's podcast. But then she also said that Rip had financial investment in her.
Yes.
And that makes a lot of sense. So before we get to the statements made by everybody else, there was a hand that was played between Robbi and Rip maybe 5 minutes earlier. It was Ace Queen versus Ace Queen. And if you want to pull that one up, Guapo, if you have it available, this is a clear indication of soft play, from my opinion. They both flop trips, and no money goes in the fucking middle. And I'm not saying this indicts her in any way, shape, or form as to having cheated in the Garrett hand, and I'm not even implying that this makes her a seedy player or that Rip is somehow involved in it. I'm just saying that of all the things that have happened, my degree of confidence that this is soft play is so much higher, so many magnitudes higher than my degree of confidence that she cheated in the Garrett hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, especially when it comes to the information that is given outside of the felt itself, when it comes to the situation of knowing that he has financial investment and all of these things, to where it makes it very logical and understandable, to where if he's invested and he has a piece or whatever, to not play as hard against him versus playing against somebody else. So, and like Matt, you've seen so many of these situations in live games, just being around the scene and just having that much experience of knowing when something seems a little bit off, that you wouldn't just say that for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, yes. And again, like, we're also adding up all the details, right? So like finding out that they're business partners, finding out that he has a financial investment in her. And in my experience, like, generally speaking, when two players are playing in the same game where one has a financial investment in the other, that's usually disclosed to the players. And it seems as though that wasn't the case in this situation. So, again, it's not that this isolated hand of the Ace Queen versus Ace Queen is that big of a deal. It's more so that if they are soft playing in these types of situations and no one else is aware of it, this can come back to generate EV for them in other scenarios when it's three ways or anything along those lines, where it's very critical that their opposition knows that they have mutually beneficial interests for each other, right? And this happens all the time. This is stuff that as professionals, we're supposed to police this, right? So, it's very important that we understand the dynamic of what's going on here, and don't become accusatory, but also take a look at the evidence. So we actually don't seem to have that hand queued up, but if anybody wants to go back, I believe it's at the 2 hour 10-minute mark. You can see that they play a very, very tiny pot where they both just pretty much have the nuts. Okay, so now that we have the Rip stuff kind of taken care of, and also what I realized, I'm gonna miss my flight. Apologies to Live at the Bike. I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna have to catch a later flight, but there's just no shot I'm getting out of here in 20 minutes. I'll do my best though. Okay, so now after all of this happens and Rip flips out, Garrett goes back on what was believed to be the agreement where he was going to come back and play. He obviously has no interest in being in this hostile environment. And, basically at that point, like, the night rolls on. We mostly tuned out of Hustler and started tuning into Joey. And from there, Twitter became the main source. So first and foremost, let's get to Garrett's statements / accusations. So the TLDR of his statements are a lot of what we've already covered. honestly, this is the most emotional. That's not fair. Like Garrett's spoken openly about, his depression and things like this. But when I say most emotional, this is like the least calculated statement that I've seen Garrett put out. The TLDR of it all was a lot of what we framed. This Jack 4 spot did not pass the sniff test. He spoke a lot about her reaction when being quizzed and things of that nature. He spoke to the points of, having watched a ton of footage of her. By a ton, I guess it's like 10 or 11 hours, whatever. And at no point had she stepped out like this in any sort of scenarios prior. And, he kind of said, or he very much accused her of cheating. He very much said that like he never asked for the money back, but had to accept it because he was so confident that she was cheating. Right. And that, if we're coming from his vantage point, like if you do believe that you were cheated and someone offers you the money back, like I do agree that you should take it, especially after witnessing what we've seen in the past where people like Paso go unchecked. Nobody's ever going to be made whole from that scenario. It's rare that you get to rectify something like this in real time.
Yeah, it's true.
What are your guys' thoughts on Garrett's statement? Go ahead, Chin.
Yeah, Garrett obviously knows, like Garrett's no fool, right? Like he certainly knows how this stuff works in the cheating world. Like we've all played private games. We understand that you have to get a device on the table. The device is going to tell you, not necessarily like, the device is simply going to tell you who wins at showdown. It doesn't tell you who has what, whatever. So in the case that Robbi knows she's going to win, then it doesn't matter that she has Jack high. She just knows her hand's going to win at showdown. She doesn't know what Garrett has. She doesn't know anything. She just knows my seat, this hand is going to win at showdown, whatever. So she's going to take the spot. And that's Garrett's argument. He's like, look, we've seen this rodeo before in other avenues. Maybe, a lot of people that don't understand, the cheating world of LA poker or whatever, like I'm trying to like give you some insight and this is why I'm pissed. So completely understand Garrett's side. I said it from the jump. I'm like, look, most of these situations you need to be in certain seats. She falls into one of those seats, seemingly. And there's a lot of shady shit in that when you put it in that context. So completely understand Garrett's side. Initially I would have the same response and I would have said the exact same statements if I was in Garrett's shoes. So yeah, that's the side of Garrett. Like that's Garrett's side in this situation. I have nothing bad to say about his side.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really say anything bad about it. Like, when it comes down to, like, I don't know if there was, like, what really happened off stream and, like, what the conversation that took place. But in the moment, you're going to fucking lose your shit. This man has played a lot of hands of poker. Like, this just doesn't happen. Like, this isn't something that happens every day. Like, when somebody calls you with Jack high for 6 figures, it's just like, what the fuck?
It definitely makes sense to have a visceral reaction to something like that, especially when he's been around for decades. And this is the first time that something like this has happened in a live stream sort of format. It's highly jarring, and people were definitely expecting a statement from him. So I'm not entirely sure, because I haven't talked to Garrett about his need or feel like when he wanted to make a statement as fast as possible type of thing, right?
Well, I mean, he kind of just feels like he has to.
Right, but maybe it takes a day. He doesn't have to immediately say something, right? So maybe he felt that he had to get something out as quickly as possible.
Well, I think that there's a clear reason for that. Yeah. He was very much being brutalized by the Twitter public or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the most against Garrett I've seen, the general populace. And I don't even necessarily think it was like heavily one way or the other, because like Robbi was taking a ton of criticism too. Like if I had to guess and I had to like categorize it, I would say that it was probably like 60-40 in favor of Robbi and against Garrett, where almost the entirety of the 40% was made up of professionals.
Right.
So like Garrett had a lot of backing from the professional poker crew, and Robbi had a lot of backing from the general populace that was watching. So of the 25,000, maybe 2/3 or so just took that as a soul read and think Garrett's being a sore loser type of thing. And then 1/3 are like qualified professionals that are just kind of like, hey, I understand where he's coming from. Like, this is a really sketchy fucking spot. But I agree with Landon. I think that he would have been far better served to sleep on it, really parse out a lot more of the I don't want to say projections, but like the language that is accusatory and kind of flimsy, right? There were just like a lot of points that he kind of highlighted that were very flimsy, like her word salad type of thing, right? I agree. It's very off-putting in real time. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And for sure, if you're the person on the other side of it, where you've already seen a hand that makes no goddamn sense, and you haven't even accused the person yet, but they immediately jump to this like defensive attack mode, you're gonna feel very sus. Like something's not right here. Like, what the hell is going on? So I understand why he wanted to include that detail, but we all saw it. He doesn't have to. Like, it's just not. We kind of already spoke about it, but it's more noise than signal.
Yeah.
It without more context is kind of nothing, right? And this hand without more context is not nothing, but it's still just one hand that is absolutely weird. But also, I think we kind of already started to get into like what the plausible explanations for this are, where Christian kind of insinuated like how it could cheat. I don't want to go that route yet. So I want to stick a minor pin in this and not jump the gun. Let's now talk about Robbi's explanation of what happened and returning the money. So I believe she did a quick interview with Hustler Live.
Hey, so I just want to explain to everybody what's going on so there's no confusion. In that particular hand, Garrett was upset because he thought there had to be something going on for me to make that call. I made some references when I was on stream about why I kind of made that call. There's two things that were going on over there. So I'm holding the Jack of Clubs. There's two clubs on the board. After the flop, I have a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, which is why I made the call with the 5,000 bet that he initiated. And then when the turn came, it was a 3. And you will hear me say on stream, are 3s any good? And the reason I said that is because I thought I was holding a Jack of Clubs and a 3 of whatever. So I thought, and I say that I think I have a bluff catcher and it's not good enough. So when Garrett shoved on me, there's multiple reasons I called that. Previous experience where I know that he's often bluffing. I also assumed in a hand that I also folded to him earlier on in the night, the same night when I thought that he was just on a draw but let him have it, that he was just on a draw, which means he did not have a made hand after the turn. And I thought that I'm holding, a blocker with the Jack of flush, like Jack flush draw missed and straight draw missed for me. So with a 3 as a bluff catcher sort of thing. I didn't look back at my hand to see that it was Jack 4. I ran it twice because I knew I was probably going to lose that unless, I don't know, anything better came than pocket 3s, I guess, or like not even pocket 3s, like a pair of 3s. And I knew I had to run it twice to have that opportunity. So we ran it twice, and unfortunately for him, I won that hand despite even having 3s, which is still kind of mind-boggling to me. I won that hand though, fair and square, and it is what it is. He wasn't happy with it, and I said, Garrett, will you come back on stream? What can I do for you to come back? Not make this dramatic. I really appreciate and respect production. I know it's hard work to keep everything in order. There's a lot of money on the table. It's upsetting for me when I lose and win. It's upsetting for anyone. It doesn't matter how much money you have as far as bankroll is concerned, but it's important that like everyone is at peace and we don't cause enough disruption. So for me, I'm used to people bluffing me, which is why I often call. and I know that Garrett was super frustrated with me, and he wanted to talk about it. And I said, let's do what's going to be the most amicable ending for production as well as moving forward. In my mind, I think I'm good enough that I can win the $130,000 back. That's a lot of money. So so the whole understanding was, please come back and continue to play. And if you feel like it's fair that I give you this money back, fine, have it. Come back and play, and let's just continue playing. It's just poker at the end of the day, and I do think of myself in some regard that I will get that hand back fair and square, because ultimately he didn't think it was a fair hand for him not to win, and I guess maybe it wasn't a fair hand for me. Maybe we should just split it right there and then at the table, whatever it was. I was okay with giving him the money back. I really was. People may not feel that way. I don't like drama. I want to keep it minimal, and it is what it is. And I just wanted to really mitigate and reduce the level of drama that it would entice that was going in that direction. But he didn't come back, and that's because of alternative people that felt differently about me giving money to him. I'm okay with it. I don't give a shit. I want everyone to chill out. It's not that serious. If it doesn't bother me, it is what it is. I don't feel like I should have won that hand. I should not have won that hand. I think that the call would have ultimately been okay if I was holding Jack 3, and I wasn't, and then unfortunately I still ended up winning, and I can see where his pain is there. And I think that's why I did it. I said, you know what, I can see why he's upset, and I'm okay with giving the money back. We're good. And if everyone wants to flip out about it, good for fucking you. I don't give a shit. He has his money, I'm cool. And it wouldn't have been cool to call on Jack 4 personally, but I called on Jack thinking that I was holding Jack 3, and it is what it is. And I'm gonna go back and play.
I'll let you guys break down what she's saying here, because then I'm talking double for no reason.
We're good. Everyone can say what they want to say, but I'm cool. So me and Garrett are talking afterwards, and it'll be fine. And see you later.
So, initial reactions to that. It's weird. It's weird because the problem with those interviews, and the problem with a lot of this, is that I was a bit of a troublesome kid. Troublemaker, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a terrible way, but in a way where I was a little too smart for my age.
Mm-hmm.
And what that led to was I lied a lot. I lied as much as I humanly could to try to get away with it. There was so for whatever reason, when I was like in first grade, we had those big giant erasers, those big pink ones.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like to take bites out of them.
What?
I don't know why. I don't know why. You're 5. You just do shit, right? Like I also had I sucked my thumb until I was like in kindergarten, right? So maybe it was like this thing that happened thereafter. But I used to like bite the erasers and like chomp on them and then like just throw them away. Whatever.
Kind of like gum.
Yeah, kind of like gum, but not really because it's an eraser.
Right.
So when I was a kid, I would do this, right? And my teacher would catch me. Or she had caught me, right? So I got caught doing this, right? And she goes, "What are you chewing on?" And I was like, "Oh, it's nothing." And she's like, "Do you have gum?" And I go, No, it's not gum." And she goes, "What are you chewing on?" And I go, "One of my fillings fell out of my tooth." As a 5-year-old, right? And that was a on the spot like lie, and then I had to roll with it. So now she starts grilling me because that's what adults do when you're lying.
Yep.
And I'm trying my best to navigate it, and I ended up getting away with it. So like I was able to come up with it.
Wow. But did you really get away with it?
I mean, she didn't know I was chewing on an eraser. But,
I think she did.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that that's what this interview felt like. Like, given enough time and space, it's now about rationalizing something that made absolutely no goddamn sense.
Right.
Into something that can logically make sense. So you heard her talk a lot about how she had Jack 3 the hand prior. and how she misread her hand this time and like misremembered it. And I've been there, man. I've had that happen where I just had a hand, but never like a one-off like that. Never a pip, never Jack 3. Like a situation where like I just had Queen 10 suited and now open the next hand and I have Ace King off, but Queen 10 suited would have flopped the nuts, and somehow in my mind I had gone back a hand, right?
It's happened.
And I'm super excited because I have the nuts, but then I happen to look back and go, holy shit, we don't, right?
It's happened.
It's almost like you make a treasure map, you know, like you find a way to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And then you get there.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a reverse engineering process that's taking place. And I'm not saying this because I think it's indicting her as being guilty. I'm saying it because it's what it is, right? Like, it's just very hard to take anything that was said in that interview at face value. It's more so like there's just a lot of embarrassment that seems to have taken place. And this seems like a way of walking it back in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
So to take that one step further, she spoke about like why she gave the money back. And I think this is really important to kind of dig into, right? Because it doesn't make any goddamn sense to give back 100. Like, how rich are you?
It's absurd.
I mean, I've given money back at tables before in situations like, I've told this story many times where a guy showed me his hand on the river and then fired in the muck, and he had a winner, and I offered him I offered him his river bet back. And that's very generous. Yeah. It was $2,000, and $2,000 meant something to me at the time, but I felt it was right. This is $135,000. And like, I don't think there was any part of her that felt like that would make it right. Right. So like, again, this is a scenario where like, it's very emotional. Like, emotions are boiling over. It's very volatile. This is actually the one spot where I think that the power dynamic via gender and also the power that Garrett holds in these particular arenas kind of comes into play, right? Because she's kind of being accused of something that if in fact she's innocent, she doesn't fully understand.
Yes.
Right? So that's what we have to make clear of. If she's guilty and cheating, then she's giving the money back as a means of retribution and hopeful to like make this all go away. Okay, we can agree on that. But if she's innocent, and we have to understand that there's a high probability that she is just fully innocent, right? She's being accused of something that she does not fully understand. She's being, hostilely accused of it nonetheless. And I'm not saying that Garrett was being hostile or aggressive. What I'm saying is that the environment in and of itself, where you're playing high stakes, you're pulled off the stage, you're now talking to a producer, you're trying to make all of this right? It's a very emotional scenario. And so...
But like, what do you feel like you're making right? That's the only thing I don't understand.
Well, I do kind of understand where she was coming from, where she said, like, I was embarrassed that I won the hand twice. Like, I just wanted to stand up to him and didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And then I scooped, kind of thing. Where the disconnect comes for me is this isn't for pennies.
Right.
It's for a house. Right?
Yeah, I think the important part too, when it comes to you addressing these things and bringing them up, to be extremely understanding that this is an objective look at it, and it's not an accusatory attack in any way, shape, or form, right? You're just saying what things are.
I have no dog in this fight.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody.
If anything,
exactly.
If anything,
I'm talking from the general public standpoint of we're making a stance here as this, that, the other. Absolutely not.
Right. If anything, I know Garrett better, and I'm a text away from Garrett, where it's like I'm much further removed from Robbi, but I absolutely I'm not going to pretend to lean one way or the other at this point, because I see it from both sides. Yeah. I see it so very clearly from both sides, and this happens a lot in life in general, and it just. Particularly like as I get older, I see it happening in relationships a lot, where relationships will begin to falter. They'll stumble a bit between two friends, to a romantic relationship, whatever, over miscommunication, right? Over people who saw the same reality two very, very, very different ways and can't communicate their lens to one another.
Wow.
And so, like, I kind of see this happening where I fully understand Garrett.
Yeah, I was told this yesterday, too. It makes a lot of sense. I was told you cannot live in the reality you want. You need to live in the reality of what is.
Yeah, and that's a difficult philosophy, because the fact of the matter is, what is not always the same as our perception.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the trouble here, is like, I fully understand where Garrett's coming from, and I can relate to it a lot better because I'm 20 years in.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not so far removed from being brand new to this fucking game to know what it's like to be in Robbi's shoes, right?
Yeah.
And also, again, like, when you're that new, you're not thinking necessarily strategically. You're not thinking about how to play the game better. You're just thinking about how to win more pots.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that results in making these big hiccups, but also, it could result in accidental soft play or purposeful soft play. It could make sense in, purposefully finding angles or cheating metrics. Like, nothing is off the table as far as I'm concerned. I think that, like, we just need to examine all angles.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, Robbi did reach out and wanted to kind of make a statement of her own. So, Christian, I believe you talked to her via text.
All right. So, yeah, we've been chatting a little bit. She did not apologize for berating me in the summer, but that's okay. We're going to be fine. We're going to live. But no, I'm just fucking around. But, okay. She definitely did message me. She said, I essentially called him because he is usually full of shit when he plays against me, and we were heads up. I played him mostly, not the cards. Also, I really thought I had a 3 and not a 4. Hold on, she texted me again. I thought I had a 3 and not a 4. My previous hand was Jack 3. When I looked down at my cards during the hand, it was only to see if I had the Jack of clubs or spades, to see if I blocked the flush draw. I thought the very best hand he had was ace high. Otherwise, a missed straight draw or flush draw. Of course, he didn't have a boat or trip tens because he wouldn't reshove the turn if he wouldn't reshove the turn if he did have that. I assumed he would only call with those. When he shoved, I knew he had nothing. Also, the reason I check raised the turn was to make him think I had a value bet. I didn't think he would shove, and when he did, I made a hero call. I thought I had a bluff catcher with my 3, plus a blocker to the straight, and a flush because I was holding the Jack of clubs. She further goes on to say, he pulled me out of the game to go to the locker room hallway area and confronted me. He said he wouldn't go back into the live stream, and he was glaring at me. I felt intimidated and didn't want production to lose the one player who they have had since day one. I also knew I shouldn't have won that hand and said, what do you want? You want your money back. She goes on to say, he never looked at me and said he thought I was cheating. I thought he was just mad. And after I was asked to step outside and was cornered by him, asked, what do you want? Do you want your money back? And he said, yes. I saw that Feldman looked stressed and said, okay, I'll give it to you if you come back to the stream. He's been their number one guy since they started. I didn't want this to be the reason I wasn't going to go back. I didn't want this to be the reason he wasn't going back in. And it was not an admission of guilt.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Okay, I think that statement reads a lot like Garrett's, where there are some fine points there that are worth pointing out. The way she felt whenever she got kind of escorted to the locker room area or whatever, that's an uncomfortable situation, especially again if like you're out of the know, you don't even know necessarily what you're being accused of, things of that nature. That's a difficult environment to navigate. Her explaining why she called, I think, is important, and I think it's consistent with everything that she said thus far. It's also unintelligible. So it doesn't make any strategy sense. And as professionals, that's the hardest thing for us to parse. It's very difficult for us to get to an amateur mindset of continually saying, like, when he plays against me, he doesn't have shit, and then backing into a bunch of reasons as to why this makes sense with Jack High.
And on top of that, I have a question. Why, when she was asked after she called if she had a 3, or it's either, do you have a 3 or a small pair?
Yes. So
she immediately responded,
correct.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
So like that's I looked at my hand like.
Again, like I wish she wouldn't keep pushing that narrative because to me that's very clear that hours after the fact somebody said like just say you had a 3 or thought you had a 3 kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not trying to call her a liar. I don't think that she's lying. I think that this is often like the case in these highly volatile situations. Like you can have certain responses that aren't logical, aren't rational, whatever the case may be. But it's like, if we look at the video evidence of real time, outside of an interrogation, like just literally what happened in real time, he said, do you have a small pair? She said, you give me that much credit?
Yep.
Right? Like, again, maybe we're inferring a little bit too much from the situation. Maybe we should give her the benefit of the doubt and think that she did misread her hand, because that is the most logical explanation for sure. Like if we're looking at Occam's razor here, it's that she thought she had Jack 3, period. That is the most simple and logical explanation for this entire hand, right? That's even more probable than cheating, right?
Of course.
But there's just a lot of evidence to suggest otherwise, right? So
there's a section of the video where she says, "Are 3s any good?" Also.
Yes.
So there is a part where like you could assume that she thinks she had a 3 because she says, "Are 3s any good?" Like,
I agree with you there.
There's some of that.
I agree. Everything thereafter kind of indicated all the things I'm saying that indicate that she knew her hand was after she asked if a 3 was good.
Yeah.
So there after the fact, like once they were all in, again, she looked at her hand multiple times. She basically, when he said, do you have a small pair? She said, you give me that much credit? Like, no, kind of thing. And she was insanely sheepish to turn over her hand. Like when he said you won the first board, she still was just like, I'm not showing, like you're going to have to show me your hand before this ever gets tabled. But again, I don't want to go into all the conspiracies because at least not yet.
Yeah.
Right.
It's too soon.
Too much time and too much speculation for nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all for speculating. I just want to do it at the right juncture of the show.
Right.
I still just want to kind of lay everything out at this point, right?
You want to speculate for what is.
Yes, at least for the time being.
Right.
Okay, so now we kind of have these two stances. They do align in a lot of ways. Robbi has been very diligent to her explanation as to what happened in the hand. She's been very diligent to what happened leading to her giving the money back. And, she seems to have been very consistent throughout all of her messaging. Same holds true for Garrett. Garrett's response after the hand was very genuine, very much like, what the fuck is going on here? And with his look, it was kind of accusatory in nature. His statement kind of doubles down on that. He gave a lot of evidence from his vantage point as to why he did believe this was cheating. He explained why he accepted the money. And then he explained why, even though he had agreed to go back and play, he chose not to. Now, there is a little bit of inconsistency in their stories of who arrived at the decision to give the money back, or like who asked, who presented that as an option, kind of thing. The only thing that we consistently know is that they both said Ryan had nothing to do with it. I think that's important to highlight because quite honestly, I think he put himself in a bad spot trying to mediate that in real time. As the showrunner, as the producer, as the stream house, as the, like, let a floor person handle this, right? Like, if they want to go that route where they're seeking immediate mediation, this can't be Ryan. And I understand like his obligation to it or why he had a desire to, but as the producer, as the EP, as the guy who is protecting the security of the game and has all of that real-time information, I don't think you put yourself in a good situation, especially when you have a relationship with Garrett for many, 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 many years, and she's relatively new. You're not really in an unbiased spot. Now, to be fair, it does seem like he handled it well. He kept himself out and said, like, I'm not mediating this. I'm not going to suggest one way or another. Robbi said on Ingram's podcast, like, Ryan absolutely said, I can't advise you one way or another what to do with the money type of thing. He kind of just oversaw, like, bared witness to the exchange, if you will. It does pose the question, though, as far as inconsistencies go, why would Garrett agree to go back and play? if he believed that she was cheating.
Well,
is it the same reason why Andy continued? Win rate?
Well, he also just wants the $135,000.
Sure, but he got that regardless.
Well, no. She said, if you come back to the table,
correct,
I will give you $135,000.
Right.
And then he said,
I agree with Berkey though. It's true. Like, if he truly thought she was cheating, like if that was his vibe, his initial instinct, it doesn't matter. Like 130, like I don't know Garrett's situation or whatever, but I assume based on the stuff, like 130,000 is not going to buy him sitting in a cheated game.
He's
like,
not going to play.
No shot.
There's just a universe. He just doesn't play any hands. He's just like, all right, fuck. I just got $135,000 to sit here for the next 3 hours because, like, I don't know what the fuck has happened.
Man. Like because you don't know. In those situations, you don't know the extent of what's happening. Like, so
of course.
So I think it's a tough spot for him because, like, yeah, like, but it just feels weird, man. Like, 130K to sit in a cheated game, what he perceives to be a cheated game, seems tough. But at the same time, he's probably rattled, not clearly thinking about the situation. Also thinking like he's friends with Ryan, doesn't want to dip on him. He's not 100% sure.
Yeah, but he's just also getting paid to be there.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, but like he's just also getting paid to be there. If like he's getting paid $135,000 to stay. Like he's.
I understand. I understand what both of you are saying. Conrad's basically saying like it's a caveat if he doesn't agree to go back to the table. Like we don't know that his agreement meant that he would actually continue to play. Like he may have just gone back to the table, gotten paid, kind of sat in for an orbit, and just said like, "Look, I'm too tilted. This isn't for me. I'm out of here," kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I understand what Chin's saying. He's kind of doubling down on what I'm trying to put out there of like, if you believe the game integrity is at all unsecure, this is a big problem for Ryan, who's your friend. And you should be suggesting that the stream stops immediately, not suggesting like you're willing to go back and kind of make the best of this show until an investigation occurs at a later date, right? So in both instances, it kind of speaks to your confidence and like thereof. And the thing is too, is like Garrett could be extremely confident in his own belief in the fact that he was cheated and not project that confidence out to others, right? Like not expect Ryan to be equally as confident or Robbi to be, or anybody for that matter, right? So there's a lot to navigate here where it becomes very dicey because incentives are extremely disaligned, right? Ryan's incentive is to run a secure stream and without any proof otherwise, continue the show for as long as possible. He's Ivy in town. This has 20,000 viewers on it. Like pulling the plug would be a disaster, right?
It's the biggest thing on Twitter.
Right. Robbi's incentive is to be in a situation where she's not villainized. She's not accused of being a scumbag. Like her reputation to her is worth more than 135,000 from what I can understand, right? She's also an avid poker lover. So like she understands that Garrett kind of gatekeeps these scenarios and wants to ensure that there's no bad blood between her and him. There's no bad blood between her and the show, that she'll be a welcome guest here and other shows in the future, right? It's all about damage control from her perspective.
Yes.
Garrett's incentives are to be made whole ASAP.
Yep.
Right? Like first and foremost, priority number one.
Nobody leave anywhere.
It is not, it's not to prove guilt or innocence. It is to protect his own ass.
Yes.
And ensure that if there's even a probability of guilt, that he is made whole prior to that being, because if she's proving, like if in that very moment, Ryan goes, look, we have this other detail on tape. We know for a fact you cheated. Sorry, let me rephrase. Robbi's cashed out. She has all the money on her person, right? And Ryan goes, look, we know that you cheated. We caught this thing. This certain thing says that you cheated. I'm going to need you to make it whole with Garrett or we're going to go public. She's out the fucking door.
Out the fucking door. You never see her again in LA poker.
Disappears. She's in Peru somewhere. Like, because there's just zero incentive. There's no recourse. There's nothing that the stream house could do, right? Like you just got away with it at that point.
Yes.
Right? But while it's still in the uncertain territory, Garrett views it as, like, I don't know what the probability is that I got cheated, but it's greater than zero. And if this woman's willing to make it whole, I'm absolutely going to accept.
Absolutely.
Because there are just too many scenarios where I actually do prove her guilty and don't get the refund, right? So I understand how all this shook out from everybody's point of incentive. I think the problem is those incentives all conflict whenever they come together from the audience's point of view. This doesn't sit well with us at all.
Hell no.
Right? Because her giving the money back implies guilt to an audience of 20,000 people. Ryan overseeing it implies like a bit of backing behind Garrett, kind of strong arming type of scenario. Not that that's actively what happened. I want to be abundantly clear with my words. That's not what I'm saying happened. I'm just saying, like, when you are the person who is being accused, standing there facing two people, one of which being the accuser, the other of which being the stream house producer, these guys have all the power in this scenario. One runs the stream and the other one kind of controls to a certain degree what your reputation will be moving forward, right? So she's at a drastic power dynamic imbalance there. There's no friendly face. There's nobody advocating for her. There's no mediator. There's no true mediator, no objective mediator, right? That's why I said I think Ryan's in a bad spot mediating this. It needs to be somebody impartial. It needs to be a floor person because nothing's getting settled right here, right now.
The problem is if Ryan doesn't mediate that, it turns into a bigger situation.
What ends up happening is Ryan's just there to bear witness. He didn't mediate anything.
Well,
right?
just to stand there.
Right, but my point is that should just be a floor person.
Yeah, okay.
It's still somebody bearing witness, but it's not somebody who has any sort of otherwise recourse outside of the casino rules, right? And that's a much more objective person to be put into that scenario. And look, this all happened very fast. I don't expect everybody to handle it well. I'm just, after the fact, whenever we go back and reverse engineer and dissect some things, it's like, okay, in the future, these are things that we can get better. Because personally, I think that those three incentives all disalign, and ultimately, Ryan's incentive and Garrett's incentives align closer than Ryan's incentives and Robbi's, or Garrett's incentives and Robbi's, et cetera, right? And I think that creates a big issue, both for Robbi if she's innocent, and then the audience, according to like how we view this whole scenario shaking out, right?
Yeah. Tough spot.
Yeah,
when it comes started. Yeah, go on.
So I do, like, I feel for Garrett, right? Because Garrett on his end, he's like, all of this is happening like super fast, right? He just like not felt it, but he lost a massive pot, doubled up Robbi. And in his mind, he's like, wait, and now I'm in the middle of all this. Like, he's thinking he's getting cheated. He's like recalling probably all the spots where there's been cheating in LA, then the Postle thing, then all this. And now he's like, wait, now it's on me. Now it's me. Right.
A lot of context she's not aware of.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of things hit home for him. He's rattled. He's like trying to keep it together. He goes out to talk to Robbi. He might have agreed to stay back on, whatever. Okay, sure. Maybe Ryan reassured him that like maybe nothing was going on, like it was really hard for cheating to happen, whatever. And he's just like trying to like get things together. And then he has Rip calling him a pussy ass bitch, like on the side of his ear, and he's just like, "What the fuck is happening, bro?" Like, and then he's just like, "Okay, I'm out." Like, so, everything's happening so fast. Like, I can't blame him if he stayed. I can't blame him if he leave. Like, it's just one of those spots where it's like, whatever you think is best, bro, because you have homie like yelling at you that you're a pussy.
Of course.
You have Ryan telling you maybe that this is unlikely. It's crazy, bro.
Agreed. Okay, so I want to get into now Hustler's statement. I did speak to Vertucci on the phone. Ryan was kind of listening in and giving me a bit of input himself. So I kind of already knew the statement that was going to come to be, but I just want to read it real quickly. So their statement is, HCL will be doing a thorough look into this incident. We'll be looking into every aspect of this incident before putting out the results of our findings. We completely understand the magnitude of the situation and the accusations. We take this extremely seriously. At this point, we have no proof either way, any indication of any wrongdoing besides the accusations of parties involved. During the investigation, parties involved will not be playing on our show until we have a resolution to this matter. We here at Hustler Casino Live are extremely confident in our game security. Game security and integrity are of the, second page, of the utmost importance to us. HCL was not involved and will not be involved in any monetary exchanges between the parties. HCL had no part in those exchanges. That is between the parties involved. HCL will continue as usual with our live stream cash flowing Cash Stream Games, respectfully, Nick and Ryan. I think that's I think 99% that's a good statement. I think one of the things we need to discuss here that this brings up is the security of live streams. And this is something that obviously I put a lot of effort into during the Apostle era, and found a lot of, let's not say conclusive findings, but a lot of backdoors and loopholes and ways that these systems can be cheated. I understand their assertion that they are highly confident in their security. The issue that I take is that that confidence, unless it is based off of a cyber team who built your system or a cyber team who has audited your system, I think that it is highly improbable that confidence is anything other than arrogance, right? So this is something that we all need to be hyper aware of. I don't know. I haven't seen Hustler system. I haven't seen Live at the Bike system since they've changed ownership. I don't know what the guys in Texas at the Lodge or any of these other major stream houses are running, but I suspect that it's still the GFX from Andrew Milner in Australia. And I personally know that that's what we have here for the Academy, that we use for only training purposes. And the reason for that is that it is just a very unsecure system. The things that you need to do to ensure that this system is fully secure is a lot. And even then, it's not bulletproof. There's a giant difference. And I know Poker Night in America used to use this system too. I don't know if they've changed since. I doubt it. There is a giant difference between the custom system that PokerGo uses that was built specifically for commercial use and all of the security measures that they take, including a locked peak room with a guard. I mean, granted, this is Nevada gaming rules, so they have no choice. But, you know, all of these measures and protocols that they put in place to ensure that these systems are secure. I don't know what the protocols and systems are for Live at the Bike and for Hustler. I've obviously been playing these streams, so I have some level of confidence that they are fine. That doesn't mean that they are beyond reproach. That does not mean, like, my playing is not my signing off for there being no risk, right? It does not mean that they aren't able to be infiltrated. It doesn't mean that they aren't able to be cheated in some sort of way. And that doesn't necessarily mean that any of the stream houses would be involved in said cheating. It just means that they could potentially be vulnerable. So,
okay, I just have a question for you. Is it possible to find out what those security systems and measurements are?
I mean, in the sense, can we ask? Sure.
Right.
Can we ask to audit them? I think that's negligent.
Not in the sense of audit, but just ask if you asked Ryan, hey, what are the security measures in place for Hustler Casino Live? He can tell you what those are.
Yeah, but the problem is that that conversation doesn't go anywhere, right? Because as somebody who plays on the stream, he can't divulge to me his protocols. He can't divulge to me what security measures they have in place, right?
I see.
That's why I said I think it would be negligence to allow me or anyone who's ever going to play on a stream to audit it, right? There should be third-party cybersecurity companies
That's what I was going to ask.
that are handling this. Even though I'm very knowledgeable of the system, that's even worse. Like, that would be a worse reason to have me audit it, because if anybody then could penetrate it easily, it becomes the person who's most intimately in the know. Right. So at no point do I think that there is any malice on the part of the stream house, but I do think this resurfaces the conversation of slight negligence, right? We've allowed the barrier of entry to run these streams to be too low as a community. And this isn't an indictment of Hustler or Live at the Bike or Lodge or anybody else who's using the system, Poker Night in America or anything along those lines.
Right.
But to your point, there's no way for us to do our due diligence. we can't ask them what system they're running. We can't ask them what the security of said system is.
Right. It's not like something of a code that's open sourced or something of that nature where you can look through it and be like, okay, this is how this works. Right?
Correct. Right.
Okay. And it's not an accusatory statement. We're just saying what it is.
Yes. So it's like, is there opportunity for somebody to cheat? Potentially.
Right.
And that is something that I think is critical to understand here. So moving forward, whatever their investigation is, as far as this process goes, what should also be happening is there should be a tightening down on the security side of things. Like, we have to see this bar get raised. I know that there's better technology out there that's actually built for corporate distribution or commercial distribution, like we're seeing with these stream houses. We're actually going to be getting a table to test in the near future. Now, does that mean that it's the best version? Not necessarily.
No, of course not.
It's still not going to be better than something custom built. Building something custom is very expensive, right? Getting a cybersecurity team in there to manage all this stuff, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, if nobody's pushing back, the stream houses have no incentive to spend that money.
So
there's no stamp of approval.
Right.
If they do it right, like PokerGo's doing it right. The only stamp of approval we have is that we know Nevada Gaming holds them to that high of a standard.
Right.
But outside of that, we would never know. So without Nevada Gaming, which no other jurisdiction outside of Jersey has, we would never know.
So the Nevada Gaming people have a checklist and guidelines of things that you as a stream producer need to have in order for it to be streamed.
Yes.
And California does not have that.
California doesn't. Texas doesn't.
And the
Florida doesn't.
Security systems for all of these things cannot be open sourced. Well,
correct.
Okay.
It's just like any other security measure, right? Like you can't like, it's why a lot of these online poker sites don't divulge the way people are cheating.
Got it.
Because you don't want the cheaters to get an edge.
I see.
Or a greater edge.
Right. So just by default, there is a way without a committee that has rules and guidelines of things that need to be there.
Yep.
Ways to potentially get through the system.
Yes.
And it's not to say that that's happening or did happen,
right.
but it's possible.
It's possible. So it does become in the realm of probability. That was just my biggest pushback on the Hustler statement. Otherwise, I think that they're taking all the necessary steps. I think that, speaking with Ryan and Nick, they truly do want this to be, this is awful.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes from this for them, right? Like, they want to do everything imaginable to ensure the safety of the stream. They want to do everything to make the community happy and comfortable with their product. But, I think now, as the bigger stream houses, them, Live at the Bike, and Lodge, I think it's time, and Poker Night in America, I keep leaving them off, but I shouldn't, because they're a televised product, and that's very important too. Yeah. Those 4 stream houses, maybe TCH Live also included, they absolutely should be doing their due diligence and at a bare minimum, easing our mind and saying, like, we have moved into a custom system, or we've hired cybersecurity team X to come in and do a sweep of our product and find the weak points, and we've shored them up.
And we do know of some other streams that have started using this new table, correct?
Only one. I think they're testing in Austin in the TCH room.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
It may be TCH and TCH Austin and TCH Dallas. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so for context sake, it's a new company. The big thing with this company is it does allow, to Landon's point, a little bit more open sourcing. So this new company, they've developed a system where, it's RFID chips, RFID technology and everything. So you reduce the amount of people who are given privileged information. That's number one important. Mm-hmm. Number two, and most important, is there's an app that is given to the players that gives them access to all the data from the games. So it's just like having hand history reports in online. And that's very critical to snuffing out cheating, right? Because imagine if we had a database, like an accurate database of every hand that Postle played, where we didn't have to screen scrape, but instead we could just download it, right? He would be found guilty tomorrow. Like we would just empirically be able to demonstrate across the board infinite data points that indicate this is not right. Right. And, not to put Robbi into the apostle camp, but the same thing here. We could prove her guilt or innocence, or at least lean one way or the other based off of being able to pull that 11 hours of footage and seeing every single hand that she played. Right. We could literally upload it to GTO Wizard and see like just how far off she is. And like, if we see that she's just losing in massive spots over and over and over again with like high card hands, where she's just calling down too light or whatever the case may be, it just becomes abundantly clear, like it's unlikely to be malice.
Right. There just needs to be pieces to the puzzle in order to find the full solution.
Yes, agreed.
We don't have enough of that at the moment.
That I do agree.
Sounds right.
Okay, so the last thing I want to discuss then, before we get into the plausible explanations for all this, is Rip's involvement. I think that we kind of laid out the important details of their friends, their business partners, and he had some financial piece of her in this game. As I mentioned previously, there was an ace-queen hand that it seemed like very clear soft playing between the two of them as far as I'm concerned. So it's worth noting. His reaction is that both of a friend, I think, who recognizes that there is a power imbalance here and he needs to step in and, be more assertive for her sake and advocate for her. But it's also representative of somebody who's financially tied to this outcome and does not want her to give back the money. There was implications made by, I believe Cole Poise tweeted that she was on a 50% free roll. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know like how all of that would play into her wanting to give back the money or in order to like make everything right for her. But I do think that if she's free rolling, she definitely sees it as less of a risk giving back the money, because losing means nothing to her. It doesn't cost her anything. And winning is just like money in her pocket. So in her mind, maybe she's just like paying X amount of thousands of dollars to ensure she has future opportunity. And that could be worth it, as opposed to if she's actually risking real money. Now giving back is very difficult because you've just given all of your profits away and now you're right back at risk on your stack, right? Where if it's a free roll, you're only risking someone else's money. What do you guys think of Rip's involvement in all this, Chin?
I think that this happens all the time in high stakes games. People have pieces of each other, especially like, business people take pieces of pros, business people take pieces of their friends, and like people get free rolled or staked or whatever. So there's really not any, like, I don't see any problem, even if like Rip literally put her in the game for the entire stack, like for a free roll, or if Rip had a piece or whatever. It doesn't matter. That shit happens literally every day. So I don't really have too much of a problem with it. Of course, if he had financial interest and she's about to give Garrett back $125,000 or whatever, yeah, he's going to be pissed, because if she didn't cheat, then she's like, yo, you're just bullying my friend. This is like, I have a piece of this. Like, this is crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be like an upright citizen in the game. So yeah, I don't see any problem with Rip being upset, because in his eyes, like, this is his friend. Maybe he has a piece, and if he has a piece, that doesn't matter if he has a piece. Like, and like, the soft play and stuff. Like, look, when you play these games that are high stakes, you're gonna see people check it down all the time. Like, you see this with Armenian Mike and my man that has the queen deuce off all the time. Like,
Israeli Ron.
Israeli Ron. They literally check it down all the time. Like, it's just they're friends, whatever. They don't want to stack each other. Like, they're not there for that purpose and whatever. So that happens all the time. Is it soft collusion technically by the rule of the law? Like, yes, it is. But we've come to accept that that's part of the game. Like, people have pieces of each other, or like they're friends, they don't want to stack each other, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I want to just go and state that she did say that Rip had was backing her for this.
Yeah.
And that she was getting 50%.
Yeah, we're not. Oh, she did say she's getting 50%?
I believe.
I didn't.
No, I'm sorry. I tied the two things together.
Yeah, I don't know that she actually said how big of a piece she had, and I also don't know that she said she said something to the effect of she has many backers, and that Rip is one of them. So I don't know if that means that he had her action that night, or if he just had a piece amongst other people. But in any regard, I would imagine that he has to advocate for her to not give the money back when he's financially invested.
No, of course. I mean, I think Rip's reaction, if he's financially invested or not, it seems very natural.
Yeah,
Like,
prior to even knowing any of this, I said that his reaction was not out of line at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a really fucked spot where somebody needs to be going to bat for her, and they're friends. So, when Mike said that they're friends and business partners, like that actually makes a fair amount.
Yeah.
It looks like the chat is helping us out a little bit here, and they're letting us know that on the Joey pod, she said that Rip had 50%.
Rip had 50?
It's like multiple people. Like the chat's saying that.
Rip had 50 or she had 50?
Well, it looks like Rip had 50%.
Okay. Yeah, DePaula said Deeb asked her how much, and she said he had her action, and he asked what the split was. She said 50 to make stuff okay for you and your image. I mean, that's incoherent, DePaula, but thank you for trying. I think
she's fully back with a 50%
yeah, right, exactly. What I think is that she was getting a 50% free roll. Okay, yeah, I mean, all of that's very important. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, since I have 40 minutes to wrap this bad boy. What are the plausible explanations, aka the conspiracies of what may have happened here? Okay. I wrote down what I believe to be 5. Okay.
You only got 5?
I think there are many more, but I don't want to get too deep into this. It's only a 3-hour show, guys, Okay, so number 1.
Wait. Can we start spitting them and then you tell us if they're in there?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your number 1 conspiracy? Without explanation, just tell me what you...
Obviously, the number 1 conspiracy...
Yeah.
All right, conspiracy, highest level conspiracy. Like there's the earth is flat. Okay.
No.
So,
I don't want the most extreme. I want the one that you think is most probable.
Oh, most probable?
Yeah.
If she was cheating, obviously. I'm not saying she is. If she was cheating, she has a device that will tell her that she's going to win at Showdown. So no matter what she has, she knows she's going to win at Showdown. So she just has to make the call. And then
that was indeed
really
on my list.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what she has. She just knows she's going to win the call.
Correct.
And now it's up to her to make the judgment call of being sharp enough to not make it egregious.
Right.
So that it's obvious that you're cheating, right?
Well,
so
it's impossible for her to be. It's impossible for her to be. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, okay. I have that one on my list. Conrad, go.
The Hans.
The Hans? Oh, you think she had anal beads?
The Hans. I'm not going to say it, but I'm just going to call it the Hans, man.
Anal beads is on the list. That did not make my list, but I guess that kind of doubles down on Christians, some sort of signaling device.
Definitely going.
It's called VATO for vibrating ass theory optimal.
Oh,
it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm over the days of putting theory optimal at the end of anything. So let's squash that right now. Go on. What number 1 conspiracy?
I mean, the most logical one has to be a device of sorts or something along those lines, I think.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think that if... okay, so let me start with the possible explanations or conspiracies that prove her innocence.
Yeah.
Because I think these are important to get out here before we start, going down some rabbit hole. Number 1 would be that she just had a read or an amateur moment of just desperately wanting to beat Garrett so badly that she called with Jack high, quote unquote, hoping he had a hand like 8-7. And I think that the easiest thing to question then is, if this is true, was her reaction afterwards natural? To me, the answer is abundantly yes, right? If that's true, that she just had an amateur moment and just said binary, does he have value, does he have bluff? I think bluff, and then just disregarded her actual hand and flicked it in, or she truly did believe she had Jack 3 for a pair and arrived at a call because pair beats bluff type of thing. Was her reaction there afterwards natural? My opinion is yes, because I don't believe that when she made the hero call, she would have expected such a hostile response upon winning the pot, right? Think of any scenarios where amateurs step out of line and get lucky. Usually it's like a smirk and a snide, nice hand, man, kind of thing.
I'm just the one part that just makes me want to push back is when she just like completely just throws it at Garrett and she just says like.
Agreed, but again, hostility is presenting itself where it was unexpected. So fight or flight kicks in, and I think that like she's a fighter. You know, that could be possibly what led to this hand to begin with, right? She's just a fighter, and for better or for worse, doesn't know when to back down. So I think that this is a plausible explanation. Tom Martell kind of put out a tweet thread speaking to this that I thought that he framed it pretty well. He essentially spoke to a lot of the things that I'm kind of speaking to now, where it's like she's put into a fight or flight response type of scenario, and obviously like her emotions aren't necessarily going to coexist or align rather with the scenario at hand. You know, the TLDR is she's smart enough to lose hands to avoid detection, but so dumb or greedy that she picks this ridiculous spot to win money. I think that's a really key point. Like, if you're cheating, this is far and away the dumbest spot on earth to cheat.
Yes.
Right?
But if there's a co-conspirator involved in this and you are placed.
Right, where he's just signaling. Yes, I understand that. You know, I think Tom's a little bit off when he says she lets him off the hook by running it twice when she knows that she's only winning once. That's implying that she knows what the runouts are.
Yeah.
If it's not that sophisticated and it's simpler than that, where she's just being signaled best hand, worst hand, then she wouldn't know the runouts, and she just knows she has jack high. So running it multiple times is only beneficial, right? Because she's never going to be a huge favorite. Go ahead, Jen.
Well, it's kind of a free roll, right? The argument for her not cheating is that she ran it twice. However, if she knows she's going to win the first one, right, then it's just kind of like a pretty sharp play to run it twice, because it's unlikely that, well, we basically are covering for her now, right? Like, basically it's like, well, she ran it twice, so she can't be cheating. But if she knows she's going to win the first one, then it's just a free roll spot.
Yeah, I understand
you're taking
where
the negative. You're taking the chance that you lose, but you're taking the chance that you chop, but in exchange, you have the community saying, well, she ran it twice, so she can't be cheating.
I understand what you're saying, but I think you're overcomplicating it in the sense that if you're greedy enough to try to steal a pot that's 300,000 with Jack 4 high, you're probably not going to be sharp enough. Maybe sharp's not even the right word. You're probably not going to put yourself in a situation where you think that running it twice cancels that out, because it doesn't.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you're just
This
sitting
is
there
the
and you're just like.
conspiracy section.
I understand. I understand.
yeah,
I'm
you're
just
sitting there
pushing back a little bit against your ideas.
You're just like, I have Jack High, and then somebody asked me if I want to run it twice. So I'm looking at that fucking Jack High on. Yeah, it's like, I guess we'll run it twice.
Right.
Do whatever the fuck you can do, please.
Yeah, right. Like, I need help kind of thing.
Just look how wild. I mean, if she doesn't run it twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
What conversation are we really having right now? Like, it would be like, oh no, she knows she's gonna win with Jack High. Like, she's not even running it twice.
Right,
like,
but
it's
again,
like, oh no, she should do the Garrett special, right? Where she's just like, Garrett's like, how many times? And she's just like,
but he did do that. He said, I usually run it once.
Yeah.
So he gave her the opportunity to just say, okay, right? And like, under those constraints,
it looks
like,
so crazy if she just says run it once. Like, it just, we're having a different conversation if she says run it once, I think.
Yes, sort of. But the thing is that your implication of her wanting to run it twice somehow makes her more guilty than less, and I disagree with that. It may not.
No, I'm saying the perception is that she will be looked at less guilty. Of course.
Right, but when you say the perception is that she will be looked at less guilty, you're also implying that it's a sharp play to do it if you're cheating.
It is.
It's not.
Of course it is.
It's
of course it is, because
no, the sharp play is to not call with Jack 4 high.
Of course. All right, but we're past that point now.
No, we're not, because that happened. You can't ignore that. You can't be sharp and dumb at the same time.
Right.
Like, you can't
be stupidly sharp.
Yeah, you can't be so sharp that you know to run it twice in the spot, but also so dumb that you snapped it off with Jack 4 high.
I mean, you just arrived at a point though where you raise turn and you're just like, okay, he's probably gonna. If there was a signaling device, you raise turn, you're like, okay, he's probably gonna fold. Get jammed on. Okay, I'm winning.
Okay.
Fuck. Call.
Again, like that doesn't lead to the running it twice, I don't think. Like you just fold. You just fold. You have perfect information for the rest of the game. You just fold. If you're sharp, you fold.
If you're sharp, this is not the spot.
Correct.
But if you're greedy, a situation just presented itself.
But if you're greedy, you run it once.
Yeah, I see both sides, right? If you're greedy, you run it once, but also if you're greedy, who knows how many times you're gonna get this spot.
You can't be
know?
sharp, stupid, and greedy at the same time, right? You can't have a trifecta.
You only get to be 2. You get to be 2 of the 3.
You gotta pick
Why
2.
can't you be 3?
You can be sharp and greedy. You can be stupid and greedy. You can't be sharp and stupid. So it's only one of those 2 combinations.
Fuck, you can't be this
You can't be it
giga-brain
all, man.
galaxy wizard that's just decided the Jack 4 off is where you just take your final stand.
If she were the galaxy brain that you're implying, we would not be sitting here dissecting this fucking hand. She would just be raking us over the coals.
Rochambeau, you know.
Yeah. She would just be raking us over the coals for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars if she were a galaxy brain here.
I'm not saying there's a galaxy brain here.
Like I said, I'm really torn about the whole situation. Like it's just like there's a chance of both things. Like I said, I played with her. She made a crazy call. She berated me after, and now I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like this is how she plays. Like this is fine. Like sometimes she just has you dead on a hand, and she makes the big call, and then she tells you, why the fuck did you try to do that to me?
I think that's
what she did to me. So that's fine.
I think that combined with her other play is her strongest advocacy for not cheating in this spot.
Right.
Like I think the fact that like she seems to consistently make emotional, irrational decisions at the table, many instances of said things happening, and her erratic play otherwise, right? Like clicking it back with ace king on the turn. Now again, you can make arguments the other way and say like, well, that was a sharp play. Okay, fine. But like if we comb through all the footage, which we haven't yet, I think we'll see enough erratic decisions. Like the Jack 8 of diamonds is a good example, right? Like she somehow puts in a bunch of money behind where Garrett has her drawing dead. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like it doesn't make any sense to be sharp and stupid all at the same time.
Right.
Now I get it. Like you can make an argument that it's to throw off the scent and to throw enough data points at the people trying to figure it out where they're just confused. And sure, maybe that works. But again, don't tip your hand with Jack 4 high.
This is not the hill to die on, man. You don't die on the hill with Jack 4 off.
Right, like also you
know?
just fold pre. Like if you have perfect information, you just play the charts or maybe a couple pips wider because you don't want to do anything so fucking egregious that people catch on to your scent.
And sure, it's like some loose action gamble here, there, whatever, you know, but like it really does come down to the new rock, paper, scissors of sharp, greed, stupid.
Yeah,
where
that's true.
Sharp beats stupid. Stupid doesn't actually beat anything, but greed loses to a lot of stuff too. You just can't beat them all.
Yo, like what happens if like she calls and she loses with the Jack 4? How does Rip react?
That's a fair question. That is a very fair question. Like maybe she just has to get up. Like that's you're out. You're fucking out. I don't know what that was.
Maybe not though. Maybe she's just in.
Yeah,
She's
but
like,
what we're missing, Burke, that you're not really taking into account is that when these cheating things occur, and I'm not saying this is how it happened. It's not like you're getting the notice every hand. It's like you get the notice you basically get the notice in like a spot where.
Why do you think that?
Because why it doesn't make any sense. Why would she would just get the notice? She doesn't. Let's say this device works where you know you're going to win at showdown. She doesn't know when she's going to win at showdown. Like she's not winning at showdown every hand.
You don't know.
So she has to take a spot where she's
Okay. Stop. Because you're presenting a whole nother argument.
Yeah.
The way that this would work if she's being signaled in game would be that she has a co-conspirator that has infiltrated the RFID system. So he has perfect information. Someone has to have perfect information. What is not happening, and this I can confidently say, is that there was a mechanic deck in the game.
That's
because we would know by now. Or if we wouldn't know, Vertucci and Ryan would know. There's no way for a deck to have gotten in and out of that game, at least not logically. I could say with like 90% certainty that a mechanics deck did not come in, especially into an RFID game. It makes no goddamn sense to bring in a mechanic deck that uses some third-party device to read the actual, like we've seen those decks, right? The ones where you put a dummy phone on the table and it reads every single card top to bottom. That makes no sense in an RFID game. Whenever you would have to now get an RFID version of those cards, and they still wouldn't fucking work because they wouldn't be registered to the system, right? So bringing in an outside deck is absolutely off the fucking table.
It's absolutely impossible.
It's impossible in an RFID system. They would just never be registered unless Ryan and Nick are in on it. And even if they were in on it, there's still a better way for them to cheat, right? Like, it would still make no sense. I'm absolutely, that's a conspiracy, sure, but I'm throwing it fucking out the window. It's not possible. The only way that she could have cheated in a co-conspirator way is that someone infiltrated the RFID system. Either somebody was on the inside relaying information, or somebody was able to hack into the system and intercept the packets. In one way, shape, or form or another, though, a second party would have to have full-blown information, see Garrett's cards, see her cards, and then when money started to go in, signal, you have the best hand. So 1 buzz for best hand, 2 buzzes for fold, something along those lines. So if we believe that conspiracy of that's how it was cheated, and she got buzzed, and she goes, okay, I have the best hand, I raise, and then he doesn't fold and instead jams, she says, okay, he's bluffing, I know he's bluffing, I have jack high, and gets greedy because nobody coached her up on how to make this look good. And clearly she's a novice when it comes to poker, right? She distills things down into very simple terms of bluff value, right? So that conspiracy actually aligns a lot with her rhetoric, with her, I just thought you were bluffing, and then names bluff combinations that she loses to, right? Because the only information she was operating off of was perfect information that I knew jack high was good, but she can never say I knew jack high was good, right? So instead, she has to figure out ways to reverse engineer how jack high could be good, right? Okay, look, that's the most prevalent conspiracy for cheating. The most prevalent explanation is that this was all fueled by emotion, right? Those are the 2 things that I'm operating off. Now, there's a little bit in between. She could have potentially rubbernecked and happened to catch a glimpse of Garrett's hand, either seeing the 8 or the 7 or possibly both of his whole cards, and then just had perfect information that way and didn't know how to fucking react, right? Just didn't know what to do. But if she actually knew his whole cards, the way to play this would be to go call, and then when he bets river, you jam, right? That would be the only thing that makes any sense from, or at least trying to like cover your tracks.
But I mean, also when you're a novice, like you're not going to come up with the perfect.
Sure, but raising seems suicidal when he has a hand that strong.
Yeah.
The idea that, I mean, maybe like in her mind, she thinks like, oh, well, if I got raised in this spot, I would just call with 8 high, and then river can go check whenever he misses. But why would you want to put in more money prior to him getting to realize that equity or not?
No,
right?
because when she thinks she has the best hand, she just raises, right? It doesn't. She's not playing it like how we think.
But I'm saying no. But
when she had ace king versus Casino Eric, she raises the turn. It's not a bluff. She like literally mid raises the turn in a spot where she had the best hand, and she just thinks she has the best hand, so she's gonna raise.
Yeah. You know? There are people in the chat saying that that Eric mouthed to her to call. I didn't see that in the video. If somebody has a timestamp where that actually happened, I'd be happy to look at it, but I don't believe that happened. Yeah. That seems silly to me. And even if he did do it, I don't know that is really all that important to take into account as a data point, because he might have just wanted to see pain. Right? Like maybe he saw Garrett's hand and maybe he was just like, trying to help, but that wouldn't indicate like how she got to the turn raise and things of that nature. To Christian's point, like, yes, when she thinks she has the best hand, she raises. That would be, that would be an argument for how she made an emotional reaction and why she didn't cheat in this spot. It could also be an argument for a simple system where 1 buzz for best hand, 2 buzzes for worst. In both of those instances, that could be, there's no thought taking place there other than I think or I know I have the best hand. It does not make sense if she rubbernecked and saw Garrett's hand, because it's not about thinking she has the best hand anymore. It's knowing, and that action seems disaligned, I guess. Go ahead.
But
It's just such a wild situation, man.
Yeah.
Like, I can also logically see the side of her somehow just thinking she has the best hand, getting jammed on, and then going with the read of having the best hand somehow. And like, even if she does think he has ace high or something of that nature, saying, okay, run it twice just in case I'm wrong. Maybe there's a chance I spike something.
Sure. And
Right.
that was her explanation for what it's worth. So I don't think that that's that far off. The final conspiracy that I have is that she was marking cards with invisible ink, and that's what those goofy fucking glasses were utilized for.
Yeah.
No, the Stu Unger glasses are back.
Yeah, they were strange choice, I think, but they were fashionable. So it could just be a fucking look. Like that's
Let's
allowed.
get the Stewie glasses. Let's get a photo of Stu Unger with his shades, and then
Stewie's glasses were awful.
He called someone with 10 high, right?
Did he?
I think it was like a legendary hand. Like he called someone because he thought that he just had like a bricked gutter, and he was right.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Legend.
Robbie the new Stewie.
New Stewie. Let's fucking go. Okay, so last thing I kind of want to comb through here before we get to our closing thoughts is evidence in favor and then evidence against Robbi here. So to finally frame out the rest of the argument, I think some of the evidence in her favor is her attempting to rationalize everything. I know that this seems like it could be an indictment of somebody who's lying or cheating, but I actually think it's a response to how foreign of an environment she's in and how hostile it became, right? There are just most people in that social setting are going to want to kind of calm things down. And oftentimes, like rationalization or small white lies seem like the best way to quell an angry mob. So from my read, and again, this is just my opinion, but from my read, it was all coming from a very emotional place. It seems like she was frazzled. And it seems like though she's trying to break down strategy and things of that nature, it all came down to a black and white of he has good hand or he has nothing, where she's qualified nothing is always being worse than whatever it is that she holds, right? So I don't think anything about her response indicates that she was thinking too deeply about the situation. And I know that we want to imply that she would be or should be because there's $150K on the line, but we don't know what that means to her, especially if she's putting up $0, right? So it could have just been a fuck you gamble spot, I think, if she's getting free rolled in a way where she's risking nothing but can win $150K.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I want to say, like, I know I made a lot of points, like, kind of toward that she was cheating, but I'm just like thinking of all the thoughts that went through my head. I don't know what the fuck happened here.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is a wild situation in general. And I can't wait to internet sleuths look at this 11 hours with a little bit more.
And that's okay, like we're not supposed to have the hard, like ironclad evidence as to one way or another.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, I really don't have a stance either way.
Well, I mean, we're 12 hours removed. So, like,
know.
the idea that anybody would imply that they're confident one way or the other seems quite insane.
Yeah.
Other aspects of what I think work in her favor in this particular instance are her decision to run it twice. We spoke already at this at length, but I think that this favors her being innocent, obviously. Third, this is a terrible instance to actually be cheating, right? Like, of all the hands to choose, of all the spots you could put yourself in. So I talked about this a little bit in our chat, but if you had a signal that allowed you to know when you have the best hand or not, the way to make all the fucking money to just print without ever being discovered is to play all of your 0 EV hands perfectly, right? So every time you're at a point of indifference, you're not.
Because you have the answer.
Right, you just get to make a perfect decision. You're at a point of indifference with the bluff catcher, you get 2 buzzes. It's a fold. You're at a point of indifference with a bluff catcher, you get 1 buzz. It's a call. You never lose at the point of indifference. You make so much EV there.
This is if you were doing it.
Well, this is if anybody's smart enough to come up with a hack to an RFID, like.
So maybe somebody's just involved in the tech side and not knows nothing about poker. Like this knows very little about poker. I don't know. I just think that
it's insane.
Yeah, it's so fucking insane, man. Like, it's just because there's no answers. Like, they're just kind of left in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, again, like you don't get to be sharp and ignorant at the same time. She's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
So
that's what makes it so interesting, right? Is like one of the two is right. There's no in between of like, oh, Garrett and her are both correct here.
Yeah.
Right. There's a side.
I think other things.
No, that's not true. Garrett can feel the way he feels based on his history.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Based on all the things he's been around, based on his history in LA and all these things, and the Apostle situation. And then on the other end, we have Robbi, who just doesn't believe fucking. You don't have it, bro. Like you don't have it. I call. Like
okay,
those two things both can be true at the same time.
Well,
yeah, I think that's true.
I think that's fair. My whole point was if somebody believes nefarious action is in place and the other is saying that it doesn't, they both can't be right.
And Landon's correct about that.
That's all
There's
I was
only
saying.
one reality here. They can both have their own individual versions of reality, but only one exists in an objective sense.
Right.
I think that other things working in her favor is her reaction seemed genuine and part of the high that a gambler goes through, especially as an amateur. So I don't think it's necessarily an indictment of cheating that she reacted in such an aggressive manner back towards Garrett. It does seem like she was like holding on to something internally of wanting to get him. I also think her giving the money back, though this kind of goes both in her favor and against her. I spoke about this earlier, but I don't think somebody who's willing to steal $150K would be so quick to give it back just to ensure that she has future invites, right? Like you've already gotten away with the caper. So in my opinion, like as I stated before, her reputation seems to mean way more to her than the money. And that is a pretty clear indication to me that it's less probable, or at least her giving the money back is more of a point in her corner for having not cheated rather than cheated.
Quick pushback.
Yep.
If there was eyes put onto this and everybody starts like flipping out about it, right?
Yep.
And if you would have thought, if I don't give back this money, I'm going to jail for a very long time.
Well, that's a big jump.
I'm just saying. I
understand. But when you push back with like when you push back with anecdotes like that, you can't ignore other anecdotes, right? So like you jumped all the way to if I don't give retribution, I'm going to go to jail, and you completely passed over the if I do give this back, I look guilty.
But like if I don't give retribution, like there's gonna be a longer.
She could still go to jail.
Yeah, of course. But like it would just be like, okay, I can get this like swept under the rug.
But that's not what's happening at all. Well, and no one in their right mind would think this would get swept under the rug. 25,000 people watch this happen in real time.
You can be 2 or 3.
We don't know what happened here, but like I would definitely like maybe I'll text Robbi, but like we initially what we heard was that they were going to split it.
No,
right?
she said she asked him to split it and he said no.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Or she like implied she wanted to split it or something like that. And he wasn't like up for that as a solution.
Okay.
So finally, and I kind of mentioned this, I think one of her strongest advocacies in her favor is her overall play. It doesn't indicate foul play elsewhere.
That's true.
And that's important. So, we kind of need to see more examples of this. And, maybe we just happen to catch her in the first instance and out of this comes a cheater thwarted. But my gut says that that's probably not the case. Now let's get a little bit into evidence against Robbi. So the hand in and of itself doesn't make sense. It's sus as fuck. I get that logic can quickly break down under pressure. And honestly, if she had jammed the turn, we would be like, what the fuck is this all about? But would YOLO it up to, amateur doing amateur shit.
Yeah, sure.
Right? The fact she called off, a lot more suspect. Yeah. Secondly is her partnership with Rip. Her being in financial cahoots with him while playing in the same game. Again, this could just be a total aside, but I think that's very poor form in general. And I think that it puts both of them in a situation where they are going to be under heavy scrutiny, and justifiably so, in my opinion. Right. Third, there's a point on the river, and we have this is kind of the thing that I teased before the podcast started. There's a point on this is one of the things. There's a point on the river in the Jack 8 suited hand where she had called twice, and she's tanking on the river with Jack high. And we're going to cut to this video clip, but I want you to look at her chair and midsection after she puts the time chip in.
What is she? She says she thinks she has a missed draw. She only has jack high. She doesn't beat ace high. I don't know what she's really thinking about here.
You can have this one. I'll get you again.
So what's abundantly clear to me is that some sort of shaking or vibrating took place there. And Guapo, if you want to go back to that really quickly, or maybe just bring up the picture that you have, we can also see that her mic pack is attached to her back waist. So that's the antenna for her mic pack. And that's going to be important for a point that I'm about to make in a second. So just going back to that really quickly, to lay out what we just witnessed. She slams down a time chip with jack high on the river. Now she gets a full minute extension here when that happens, right? She doesn't take more than 20 seconds or so.
She has a missed draw. She only has jack
going
high.
into this vibration that you're
high.
going to see
I don't know what she's really thinking
right?
about here.
Legs aren't shaking. Very clear that her midsection and chair are doing something.
I'll get you again.
And then she just almost immediately folds thereafter, taking like up to 20 seconds of the full minute that she had. This is suspect to me. I don't think it's proof of anything. I don't think it indicates
what is
that,
she?
So people are saying her legs are shaking. Look at it closer.
High.
I watched this clip 25 times last night. Yeah. Her legs are not in any shape
really
or form moving,
here.
as best I can tell.
To be fair, I said this same thing, and yeah, after you look at it, doesn't look like her legs are shaking, but that seems like the most common answer.
Right. What happens is, so Guapo saw this for the first time this morning, and you just reach for the most natural conclusion. Her legs are shaking. I thought the same thing when I watched it the first time. I was like, oh, her legs must be shaking. And then I watched it again and again and again and again and again, and her legs don't fucking move. So that's not to say that there's a device. Maybe she, I don't know, was doing some sort of weird breathing exercise. I don't fucking know what caused the chair midsection area to kind of like look like it's vibrating. I just know that I can see that it's high. And I can also see that her legs are still. Okay, so
really thinking about.
Just a data point. Not an indication that she's guilty, just a data point that is fucking sus. Okay, now the reason why we point out her mic pack is that we see later on in the broadcast, with like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours to go, there's a clear object in her pocket. There's a tight shot on her hip, and it's abundantly clear there's a cell phone-like device in her pocket. Now, I spoke with Nick and Ryan and confirmed they absolutely take all cell phone devices prior to the show, right? So Nick saw this clip yesterday. We were trying to figure out like what it could be. He made it certain to me that their stream, they go through all the protocols, right? And I've played there before. I know that they take the cell phones prior to getting on there. And you know what? Like, he's not going to pat people down. You trust that if somebody gives you a phone, that's their phone, right? But it does look like there was a secondary device of some sort. Now, I immediately thought to myself, like, okay, this could be the mic pack. Melissa pointed that out to us in the group chat. She's like, this could be the mic pack. But we have a clear image demonstrating that the mic pack is not in her pocket. Also, the mic pack is a small square device, where this seems to be an elongated rectangular device. So again, not implying that this is some sort of proof, but it's another data point, right? And I want this to be clear because I've spent pretty much this entire podcast saying that, like, I'm leaning on the side of Robbi here. Like, I am very much of the mind that the most easy solution here is either that she misread her hand or that she had an emotional reaction, right?
So where is the mic pack then?
It's on the back of her waist.
Yeah, it's tucked into her back. Like, most of those antennas aren't very long, so if the theory was that it was in her pocket, it's like the longest antenna ever. You guys, have you worn them enough to know how long they are?
Yeah, it would be pretty tough. So I think that that's all the evidence for and against. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I have nothing. Go ahead.
No, I'm fine. I'm just texting with hers, but I don't want to say anything until you guys finish.
We're finished. Go.
Well, she's still typing, Burke, so I can't. I don't want to start talking yet.
Okay. I mean, honestly, like, I don't want to do this either, where she's just texting you in real time and we're like reading without, like, that's not what this is about.
No.
If I wanted to do that, I would just have her on, just like I would have Garrett on. Like, I don't want that to be what this show's about. I'm trying to lay out both sides, and it's like, for nothing to be said when I'm advocating for her for the better part of an hour, and then suddenly whenever we point out the things that could potentially be advocating against her, like we're reading her text messages on air. I don't want to do that.
Unfair.
Okay, so I want to give my final thoughts, and actually I want you guys to give your final thoughts so we can wrap this. I need to get out of here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Landon. What are your final thoughts on the whole situation?
I mean, personally, I definitely don't have a stance. I think that there's a lot of things going for and against, and I have no authority at all to really make a decision in that standpoint. I just don't have enough information, and I'm not qualified to do any of that. When it comes to the certain things that are suspect, there's a lot of stuff that's suspect, right? The potential phone gate thing with the mic pack being very clearly evident. There is the hand in itself, which is pretty insane. But at the same time, logic and emotion to go out the window when you think someone's kind of doing something stupid. And also the run it twice thing makes a lot of sense. If you have Jack High, think somebody's bluffing, and even if they have a better hand in some regards, still have some chances to spike or do something like that. So it's just wild to me. And I think we just need to have more time and see what other stuff comes out at some point, because we have a lot more information now, 12 hours removed, than we did when it instantly just came out. And everyone's like, okay, let's make a reaction. She's cheating. She's not cheating. What's going on?
Right. Conrad?
I don't think we like, I don't think I have an exact answer. Like, do I think she cheated? I don't know. Do I think this is bizarre? Yes. Do I think Garrett was out of place before taking the money back? No. So, like, I can't wait to see, like, if more stuff comes out. Like, because honestly, like, what we have right now, we'll just never know anything. And, like, it's just probably just not cheating then. Nothing else comes out. I don't know.
Chin?
Yeah, I kind of just feel for both parties. Like, I don't have a decision either way. Like, I understand her. Like, I've experienced her making a big call and, like, rating and that kind of stuff. And I just seen other, players, like, make big calls that make no sense and it looks crazy. And then on the other hand, like, I've been cheated before. So, like, I know, like, how this feels, like, when it's like a big number and it looks insane, and you have this history in LA and this history on stream. So, like, I don't have a decision either way. I just kind of feel both sides, like, believe their side to be true.
Real quick, while I got you, how do you think this should be handled from all parties involved? So walk me through one by one. Tell me what you think Garrett should do now after the fact. Start with you, Chin.
As Garrett right now, I mean, look, Garrett believes he got cheated. I genuinely believe that. Otherwise, like, he wouldn't have said what he said in his text message.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he did what he thought was right. Like, he's like, look, give me the money back. I'm out. Like, whatever. I'm done. If he really wanted, like, the problem also is that Ryan didn't want to be in the middle of it. But this could have easily been like, look, hold that money in the pot in like some sort of like escrow, whatever. We'll do an investigation. If nothing's wrong, then that's your money. And they probably would have both agreed to that. But the problem is that Ryan didn't want to be in the middle of it. So now we have to have a solution immediately. And they just tried to get one as fast as possible. I do think that Garrett, knowing like his history, if this all comes out to be like definitely was not cheating, like, he would hand her that money back.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't even
like,
think
just knowing Garrett as like an upright person, like, if enough evidence comes out, like, bro, you weren't cheated, she just made a big call on you, he would just be like, oh, here you go.
I think if his mind shifts to 60-40, he'll give her the money back.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I don't think like he did this to like threaten or anything. He feels like he was fucking done wrong.
Yeah.
Here. And I
It's
don't
just
blame him.
such a wild spot after having multiple decades in the game to, like, now take this stance and be like, okay, I think, right? It's so much to put on the line.
Yeah.
Tough.
Here are my final thoughts, and we're going to close on this. I really appreciate you guys all so much for being a part of this. I know that there's a lot more to unpack, and you guys would appreciate 2 or 3 more hours of this. Landon's going to be back here in 2 hours with Jeremiah to do a one-on-one interview. I'm sure they'll address this during that podcast as well. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, show us a little bit of love, join the membership, whatever. My final thoughts, my closing thoughts on this are that, in my opinion, Hanlon's razor applies here. Never attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained through stupidity or ignorance. And I'm not trying to call Robbi stupid or ignorant in this instance, but I'm trying to say that it's abundantly clear to me that she is an amateur. So I'm not confident that she did cheat. I'm not confident that she did not cheat. I'm just confident that the most logical thing that makes sense to me is that, or at least from everything I've dug through, is there's no obvious malice. Man, the timing on this is remarkable. So to me, in my opinion, I think we need a lot more information, right? I think we need to see a lot more data before anything, I guess, extreme should happen, right? And the bigger issue that we're going to have here is walking it back. So there's a big problem with the fact that this has already gone to the court of public opinion. There's a big problem with the fact that they've already handled this privately between the two of them and have settled the debt, so to speak. And there's a lot of implications that come along with that. There's a lot of judgment that comes along with that in the public and private eye. I think moving forward, all 3 parties are going to be very responsible in trying to find a practical and civil way to hash this out. I'm not sure what I would do if I were any of them. I know that Hustler absolutely needs to investigate. I know that Garrett absolutely needs to at least explore the option that he was not cheated and potentially will have to pay her back the money. And I know for sure Robbi needs to at least understand why this looks like cheating. So I think some education needs to take place on all 3 parties' sides. And I think some common ground needs to be agreed upon, or I think they all need to at least attempt to search for common ground. The biggest takeaway that I think we as the community can have here is that it's critical that we start holding these stream houses to a very high bar. And I know I'm saying that a bit tongue-in-cheek right now because I'm about to fly to LA to play Live at the Bike, and I don't know what the security measures are, but I promise you I'm going to have a conversation with Wayne in Houston while I'm there. At least I'm going to try to find out. We absolutely need to scrutinize as a community areas that can be most easily cheated. That's online poker currently, and that is live streams. These are the 2 simplest venues where technology is being utilized that can potentially corrupt the game and make it unsafe for all players involved. So it's incredibly important to me as somebody who's a part of this realm to get this cleaned up and to make sure that it's secure. So I hope and I implore Hustler to do a full sweep of their product, to upgrade where necessary, to bring in a cybersecurity team. I implore the same of Live at the Bike and Poker Night in America and The Lodge and TCH if they haven't already. We absolutely need higher scrutiny and higher security protocols for these live stream games so that this isn't a question. If they're simply using another system, this other system that exists, where they data track every single hand ever played, we, at least as a community, can do an open source review of these hands and see how probable it is that she actually stepped out here and cheated Garrett out of all this money. On that, I'm going to leave you guys. Landon will be live again in 2 hours, bringing you a little bit more coverage on this, as well as speaking with Jeremiah Williams, heads up or one-on-one, to discuss his recent World Series bracelet victory. I'm on my way to Live at the Bike to play a little 25, 50, 100. We appreciate you guys so much. Please, again, on your way out, like, subscribe. If you're not already, become a member of the Nerds and Brainiacs. We appreciate all the support. We're here 5 days a week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. On behalf of Conrad, Landon, and Christian Soto, we're out of here.
Are we definitely off? Well, good thing. Yo, Guapo, I am still on, bro. I almost said some wild shit. I'm out.